Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you? You have your mic hooked up?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you had it hooked on your chest there. It sounded like
No, it doesn't work. I've been using the regular thing off the computer for months now. Thanks for noticing.
I go away for a short time period on parental leave, and I come back and Grumpy's broken his equipment.
You realize it was like that before you wandered away.
Not true. But for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. This is a twice a week All Islanders podcast, or a once a week. I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying twice a week after many shows. But this is a Islanders podcast that takes place every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the channel and you like the content that we put out, if you like some of the topics we discuss, if you like some of the takes we have, if you enjoy the show, if you get some sort of value and enjoyment from the show, make a few things for me. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and to like the video, right? Because number one, if you subscribe on YouTube, it lets you know and get notified anytime we go live in the future. So, hey, if there ever is a need for an emergency podcast, right, you'll get notified when we go live. And also, if you hit the thumbs up button, number one, it lets us know that you like the content that we're putting out. And also, right, apparently it helps the algorithm. It helps get this fun time of talking the Islanders out to the masses, I guess you would say. So again, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and like the video. We also do have a secondary podcast that takes place on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It's an all sports podcast that takes place again Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's myself, Son X, and the Grumpy Old Man talking anything and everything sports on the show. We talk NHL, we talk NBA, we talk MLB, we talk NFL, we talk college athletics, we talk college basketball, we talk world soccer, or world football, aka soccer. So we talk pretty much anything and everything sports on that show. You could find it in the link in the description below or as a featured page here on our YouTube channel called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. But we're going live here this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is, I guess, almost, what about like 30 some odd hours after the trade deadline? Just about, or maybe a little less. I mean, trade deadline was at 3 Eastern Standard Time. So we're about 29 hours after the NHL trade deadline.
The trade deadline was yesterday.
Yes. Yes, about yesterday was a trade deadline. Some teams made moves to subtract, some teams made moves to add, and some teams made no moves at all. And that's where the Islanders fall into camp. One of the few teams that did not make any moves at the NHL trade deadline, or in the week, or in the week upcoming to the trade deadline. So it's got Islander fans, I'd say, with mixed feelings, right? I think if you were pro, hey, the Islanders are going to make a cup run, perhaps you're a little upset that Lou Lamoriello did not add to this team that you think maybe is good enough to win a Stanley Cup. And for those who are hoping that Lou may sell and we may start to restructure the team and the image around the new core, which is Dobson, Bo Horvat, Matt Barzal, and Sorokin, well, we didn't sell, so we weren't taking any direction there. So I think it leaves kind of both camps of Islander fans a little confused, maybe a little upset, Grumpy Old Man. But the Islanders made no moves this year at the NHL trade deadline.
Yeah, I think that was the wisest choice. I mean, right now the Islanders are on heater, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, true, we've beaten some teams that have been struggling, and now we have some games coming up against the weakest portion of the league. We have Anaheim. And who else? San Jose we beat.
Kings, Anaheim, and then the Kings.
Okay, but then I think we play another team that's also a little bit weaker. And I think the Kings will be – I think that Kings are a measuring stick game for us. Kings are absolutely in the playoff hunt and trying to play extremely well. I just don't think that the Islanders had anything to offer that anyone really wanted. And who are you going to sit with the way the team is playing right now? I mean, let's be honest, Islanders playing extremely well right now. Yes, against teams that are struggling a little bit, falling apart. and some of the weaker portions of the league, but still 5-game win streak. That's like the best of the season. So can't complain about that. I truly feel the Islanders will make the playoffs now. You see teams kind of falling apart.
Well, let's not jump ahead to that. Because I kind of want to talk a little bit about the deadline first, and then we'll talk about maybe the implications it has on the rest of the regular season. But yeah, I think at the deadline, a lot of teams put their line in the sand, saying, "Hey, we've seen we've seen certain results, either good or bad, so far this year compared to what the expectations were." And we're going to make adjustments based off of what we've seen through the first, almost 60 games of the regular season, and teams start to make those adjustments, right? You look at teams in the Metro in general, right? Pittsburgh, they're selling, right? They sell Gensel. They start selling pieces. Pittsburgh obviously has a massive rebuild right on the horizon. Right. I mean, it's no longer, hey, that's off in the distance. That is smack dab right in their face. They better get ready for some really, really rough years upcoming. Same thing with,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, TJ. Finish up.
oh, go ahead. Finish.
That's what you see when you wait a year too long. It's full on rebuild. Like Washington last year. Washington was kind of in a similar situation that Pittsburgh was last year, and that the Islanders were in as well. And they determined, you know what? Yeah, we could maybe qualify for a playoff spot, but they said, we need to transit. The team's not good enough to win the whole thing. Let's transition away. So that's why you're seeing them in a better spot now than Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh waited the extra year, doubled down again last year, and now it's over. It's absolutely over. You listen to Sidney Crosby. I almost felt bad for him. He was devastated when they traded Gensel, not because they're, the best of pals, and I'm sure they are. They played together since 2016, I believe. But the fact that he knows the team, he doesn't believe in team management at selling at the deadline. He did not believe in that. You could just tell.
Well, newsflash, no players are ever going to be happy when management sells, right? Like, people beforehand were like trying to tell me, certain members were trying to tell me, look at this, TJ. Matt Barzal says he's happy that Lou is in a spot to where he says he believes in the core of this team, right? He's happy he's not selling. Well, what player in their right mind is going to be happy if the general manager starts selling pieces, right? Because if you start selling pieces, you start wondering, holy shit, this guy's starting to change the image of the team. What's my job security look like? Like that. That's kind of how that goes. But yes, I did see that. I did see the clip of Sidney Crosby there. Obviously heartbroken. I'd say that he is at the realization where, yeah, this team, where I've played my entire career, this has been my only franchise, is they're starting to head in the direction of, hey, we need to rebuild. And, what they traded and what they got back for Jake Gensel was criminally low. So get ready, Pittsburgh fans. Rough times ahead for you.
Yeah, and I think that's what Crosby realizes, like, okay, I'm never winning the cup again if I stay at Pittsburgh. You need to approach him in the offseason. Do you want to go somewhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a legitimate. They're in blow it up stage now. And it also,
et cetera. Anybody that has value on that team, hey, we're willing to retain half your cap hit to get you out of here. Hopefully you can win a cup someplace else, but we're obviously changing directions.
Pittsburgh was legitimately in the playoff hunt last Saturday.
Yeah, last Saturday.
Calgary, up 3-1 on Calgary. Tristan Jarry gives up 3 goals on 4 shots in the last 9 minutes of that game. The last one, 50 seconds left. Again, I mean, I predicted Pittsburgh to make the playoffs this year. And I said the one thing is Jarry. And I don't give a shit how good he plays in the regular season the majority of the time. When it comes to nut cutting time, he's not going to be able to do the job. He spit the bit, choked away. That game destroyed them. They lost to Calgary. Then they play the next day against Edmonton, get rolled. They've been getting pounded all week. They're done. They're done. I don't think the team believes in the goalie. And I think that was the end for them. They had to move Gensel. He's a UFA at the end of the year. Now you have to approach Malkin, Letang, Crosby, and say, do you guys, hey, you want to stay here? Okay. I mean, they're not going to be here for a long period of time. I think Crosby has a year or 2 left on his deal. If you want to get moved, we will absolutely make that happen for you. I mean, that's where Pittsburgh's at right now. And you're right. They're in for a long, long rebuild. That's what happens when you hold on to veteran players too long. That's what happens. You wind up starting over from scratch. And we said this was going to happen to them. We just didn't know when. Like I said, I thought they'd make the playoffs this year with the addition of Carlson. But Jari was the one flying the ointment for me. And once again, he did not disappoint. Absolutely not.
Yeah. When you give up those, it was just absolute backbreaking. You have a commanding lead over the Calgary Flames. You're
dominating that game.
Yep. When you give up 4 shots in the last 9 minutes of action, but your goalie lets in 3 goals on 4 shots, it's really deflating. They lose that game. They come out the next night and they lose again. And that was pretty much season. I mean, like, season's over, right? Like, the general manager Dubas was not willing to say, okay, gotcha. Even though we are 6 or, however many spots they were out of a playoff at the time period of the deadline yesterday. They weren't willing to say, gotcha, we believe that you guys can overcome this deficit, and that's why we're going to keep Gensel, and maybe we lose him for nothing. I mean, shit, they really didn't get much in return for him to begin with. They got a few prospects. They got a second or a third round pick. It wasn't much for Jake Gensel for being the marquee man, for being the guy at this year's NHL trade deadline, probably the most talented player traded at this year's deadline.
He is coming off of an injury. He should be back, I think, this week for Carolina. And you look at the teams who did well, though, right? Who are the teams that did well? Florida, Carolina, Vegas.
Well, yeah, let's I want to kind of bring that back before we talk about the teams that did well. I want to talk about the teams that impact us first, like the Metro, right? Pittsburgh did that. Washington also still in a spot where they're selling, right? Washington, think about this. Washington's up right now 3-0. They're going to win tonight. They'll have the same amount of games played as us, and they'll be 1 point behind us.
Yeah, I don't think
much. Here's the thing. I don't think much of Washington, but I'm speaking about our team's results, right? Washington, I don't think has been good this season. I don't think Washington's a cup contender. Just like I don't think the Islanders are a cup contender. I think the Islanders are the hottest team in hockey right now. 5-game winning streak, I think, is. Maybe you can argue maybe Nashville's a little bit hotter if you look at the last 10, 15 games. But I'd say the Islanders have the longest winning streak, I believe, in the NHL. And, when you're looking at it, is Washington really a contender? No, they're selling pieces. Even though, think about it, after tonight's win, same amount of games played as us, and they're 1 point behind us in the standings.
I mean, realistically, if you want to look at the standings, who are the real competitors out of the East? I mean, Florida, right there, the favorite here. Boston's 1 point behind Florida.
Oh, what are you talking about? Contenders to win.
I'm talking about contenders for Stanley Cup. If you just want to look at, just teams who could contend for a cup, I think there's 2, maybe 3, mostly 2 in the Metro. I'm sorry, in the Eastern Conference, right?
Well, let me ask you this. Before we start talking about teams that you think can win a cup and who won the trade deadline, do we maybe want to talk about the rest of the teams in the Metro that made moves and how that can impact our chances, and then talk about the teams that won? How do you want to do that, Grump? I would like to do it that way, but if you want to just start talking about
Carolina is the only team that made a move. Carolina is the only team that made a positive move. That's it.
Rangers made some moves too. They added role players. Well, I figured we talk about the teams that impact us, right? Because you just want to talk about it all. Just talk about it all then, Grumpy. That's
Carolina. Carolina, for those who think that, we play the Rangers down stretch, we don't have to worry about those games because the Rangers have nothing to play for. Oh, now they do. They absolutely do, because Carolina's loaded up.
Yeah. Rangers have lost the last. Go ahead, Grump.
They got Gensel. They got Ty Smith. He's going to be a marginal defenseman for them. And they got Evgeny Kuznetsov, who looked.
Kuznetsov, yeah.
It looks like he didn't miss a beat. He played 13 minutes today, but my God, did he look good handling that puck and passing it, which is what they need for a second-line center. I mean, they got him for a song, and they got Washington to keep money. Think about that.
Let's talk about that, right? Because that's another team, right? We talked about, right? Let's say the Islanders could make maybe the postseason, right? They're the hottest team in the NHL right now. Let's hope that continues for their sake. The Carolina Hurricanes right now are sitting at 2, right? They've got 1 game more played than the Rangers. They're 2 points behind. They're playing some very good hockey right now. Also worth mentioning, right? Kuznetsov has this year and next year still left on the contract. Washington retained half the cap hit on Evgeny Kuznetsov. Simple as that. So they have him for this year and next year at like 3 and change, which, hey, you know what? Kuznetsov for the longest time, for years, has had an open request to be traded from the Washington Capitals, and they just have never traded him. You had the issues this year. You had the substance issues potentially, or he had to enter like the NHL program. He had to take some time away. He said he's fine and healthy. The team said he's not. Long story short, he gets traded away in his first game for the Carolina Hurricanes. He looks like, wow, that's the Evgeny Kuznetsov I remember from years past. What type of Kuznetsov are the Hurricanes going to get? The big one, too, is Jake Guentzel, right? Gensel's a huge ad for the Hurricanes. What do the Hurricanes have? They have a system where they're heavy forecheck. They have a system where guys commit to playing a 200-foot game. They have a system to where they back check. They have a system to where they limit shots out there to the periphery. They bombard the goaltenders. They put a lot of shots on net. They have a few playmakers, not that many, and they don't have all that many finishers. But guess what? When you add a guy like Kuznetsov, you know what the potential is for him. So, jury's still out on that. It's only been one game, but Jake Gensel's a big get for them too. That makes them, I think that addresses some real problems they had. What are they going to see from goaltenders? What are they going to see from Kochetkov? What are they going to see from the return of Freddie Anderson? That's a team down the stretch that you're absolutely right is going to be competing for the top spot in the Metro, which means that those games at the end of the year that we're going to be playing the Rangers are not going to be meaningless games. Unfortunate for Islander fans. 3 games left in the season. The Rangers aren't going to be resting players.
They're going to need every one of those points. The Rangers will. Every one of those points. And Gensel's a finisher. They have Svechnikov, who they were missing last year, and Guentzel is 2 finishers. So is that a matchup as an Islander fan you want to have? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I don't think so. They better pray. And here's the thing. Now, what are you hoping for? Because I think they'll beat out I think the Islanders will wind up beating out the Flyers. The Flyers are playing 9 of their next 10 games against the big boys in the NHL. So we'll see. Those are guys in playoff position.
And
so
tonight, and just to give you an update, tonight they're down 4-0 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So very, very possible, right? We are only 4 points behind the Flyers. We do have, after they lose tonight, right, we're going to have 3 games in hand over the Flyers. We've talked about it before. You always want to have the points rather than the game in hand, but we're going to have 3 games in hand to make up 4 points. So yeah. I feel comfortable that maybe the Islanders can do that with the way they're playing currently in the form that they're in.
And then you're hoping, okay, if you're an Islander fan, who do you really want to play? Do you want to play the Rangers or do you want to play Carolina? For me, I know you're probably going to want to play the Rangers.
Yeah, you're hoping that Carolina usurps the Rangers at that top spot of the Metro.
Because Carolina is death to the Islanders. Absolute death.
I know we beat them a few times this year.
That's before Kochetkov actually turned into an okay goaltender. And they've had injuries, but they're getting healthy at the right time. They're a good team.
Yes, I would rather play the Rangers, as weird as that may sound, rather than the Hurricanes. We always get up for every time we play the Rangers as well. It's when it's a rivalry game, I think it has a different implication on it than it's just like, hey, it's round 1 of the playoffs. So yes, ideally the remainder of the season, Islanders, I do believe it's possible to take over, right, the 3rd place spot in the Metro, to take over for the Flyers. Flyers have a tough schedule. We have a little bit of an easy schedule right now. But our schedule towards the tail end gets very tough, right? So that's the thing. When we're looking at our last 20 games, we go through, right now we're in a little bit of an easy portion of the schedule. The last 12, 15 games get really tough. So you want to be able to make sure we are bagging away points as early and often as possible right now to make it to where, hey, even if we scuffle and lose a few games at the end of the season, we're still going to be cemented into a playoff spot. Because the truth of it is this: we don't have a lot of regulation wins this season. And if any team, comes to a tiebreaker between the Islanders and another team that have the same amount of points come the last day of the regular season, we will not win any of those tiebreaker teams just because we don't have a lot of regulation wins.
And I guess I look at it this way. So you get into the first round, make the playoffs, and you get beat handily in the first round. Is that a success? Do Islander fans think that that's a success? I mean, that's my whole thing. What does it matter if you qualify 8th or, even 6th? I mean, because let's be honest, the Devils have taken a big step back this year. and which I didn't expect to take this drastic a step back. A lot of young teams do. Maybe they should have considered getting rid of Lindy Ruff a lot earlier than they did.
Called the sophomore slump for a reason, and that's what you're seeing from the Devils. They had the worst or one of the worst goaltending tandems in the NHL this season. I think save percentage wise, they know they're bottom 3. I can't remember if Tampa has a worse save percentage than the Devils, but their save percentage has been miserable. Nico Dawes has been bad. Just a goalie tandem in general for the Devils has been awful, right? But Jeremy put this up, and that was a little while ago, but absolutely right. Best case scenario, right? Philly goes ahead and falls out of the playoff race. The Islanders go ahead and take that 3rd spot in the Metro, and the Canes jump the Rangers. So we're going to be playing the Rangers in the 1st round. That would be the best case scenario, I believe, for the Islanders.
But I don't think it matters. The Islanders aren't good enough to beat any.
I don't think we beat the Rangers either. Yes.
Yeah, we're just not good enough to beat any of those good teams. I mean, so what? You make the playoffs. Whoop-de-doo. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you're not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. And here's the thing about the Devils. Okay, let's say the Devils don't make the playoffs, and this year's absolutely been disappointing. They did acquire Jake Allen from Montreal to be their starting goaltender. What did we say at the beginning of the year? Why Hellebuck had waived his no trade clause to go to the Devils, and they did not pull a switch on that, right? I mean, they're loaded with young prospects. Who would you rather be in the next 5 years? Pittsburgh, Washington, the Devils, or the Islanders? Or, who would you rather be? You'd rather be the Devils, right? Even though they've taken a step back this year, expect them to rebound next year. They're going to need a new coach. It's not going to be Travis Green. Can't be. It's got to be somebody else. But it's like, okay, so they take a step back. I didn't expect them to take this deep a step back. I did not.
Here's the thing. You lose Dougie Hamilton. You miss important pieces for long term, right? They sold Tyler Toffoli at the deadline. I think right after their loss today to the Hurricanes, you could pretty much write them off, right? So really what we want to just discuss here is the teams that are around us, right, in the suck zone, as Grumpy so nicely coined it there last year, and it's still, I think, is true this year. There's a lot of teams still in the suck zone, but we're about to see those teams get separated, right? I think the Devils are going to continue to fall to the bottom, right? We've got 2 games in hand over the Devils, and we're 4 points ahead of them. There's no way that's what happens when you go in an important stretch of the season. You go 3-7 over the last 10 games here. I mean, this is really the business portion of the season. You can't do that. The Penguins, right? I mean, Two losses in a row. They're done. They're playing uninspired hockey, trading away Jake Gensel. It went ahead and shoot away any sort of maybe false belief that the players had that they think they have maybe a chance and that the ownership and general manager believes in the team. Obviously, that's not the case when you're selling pieces like Gensel, etc. The Penguins have no shot in the suck zone. I think the Capitals, right? I know that after tonight's win, they'll be same amount of games played. They'll be 1 point behind us. I just don't think the Capitals could be a team that makes the postseason this year. I think they're still a team that's transitioning away from the old guard into the new guard. It's the reason why they've been continued to give guys like Connor McMichael, the young kid, Ivan Miroshnik, or the guy who had leukemia, Grumpy, a few years ago in his draft class year, and he was supposed to be like a top 5 guy who fell to number 20 to them. They're getting a lot, long story short, they're giving a lot of young guys playing time right now, right? I don't see they want to win, but making the playoffs was not the number 1 priority for them this year. It's still changing and making sure that the organization's headed in the right direction. So those teams that are below us right now, I don't think really have a chance to make the postseason. I think that the Flyers are going to continue to fall off.
I don't know if you remember about a month ago, I said it depends on all these suck teams, all these teams in the suck zone. 1 or 2 teams are going to get hot. Everybody else is going to fall apart. The Islanders are the team that's gotten hot. Everybody else is falling off.
That's just like last year, too. Islanders are the team that got hot at the tail end of the season, and that's what allowed us to go ahead and continue to move up.
Yes. And what do you credit that to?
I'd say probably the guys in the room.
I think Patrick Waugh, not the guys in the room. Absolutely not the guys in the room.
I think it's guys in the room. They did the same thing last year. They come out and they play uninspired hockey for about, 60% of the season, and then start trying to ratchet things up at the tail end to make sure that we don't go ahead and do anything to trade players away. Not me. You don't think that the players have had renewed effort? It wasn't immediate under Patrick Waugh, so
it's the coach. because guess what? They buy in under the coach until they don't anymore, and then they just tune them out. And it'll be the same way with Wa. So I don't know when it'll happen, next year, year after maybe. That's it. Unless he gets booted upstairs, which he should. This group of guys, really short lifespan for them at this stage, for where you get total effort. In my opinion, like I said, they did it under Trotz, they did it under Lambert. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not falling for it a third time.
Okay. Well, we'll just agree to disagree. That's fine. I think the players have stepped up their game across the board. Is it a new voice? Is it a new coach? Perhaps, right? But he's been here for 13, 14, 15 games. So, yeah. Record right now, we're very hot. Let's see how long that continues, right? I think it's pretty much a lock. The Panthers, the Bruins, the Maple Leafs are all making the postseason. I think for the wild card spots, it's definitely going to be between the Red Wings, the Lightning, and the Flyers. Perhaps those are the Red Wings, right? Remember how hot they were? Oh man, we beat the red hot Red Wings. Well, they're on a 4-game losing streak.
We started that losing streak. They'd won 6 in a row.
Yep, and now they've lost 4 in a row.
They've
all
lost
in regulation.
Right.
That's correct. So, again, young teams, that's what happens to them. They go through time periods where they have the ebbs, the ebbs and flows are very significant. The highs are high and the lows are lows. But here's the thing. The Lightning, I think, are going to turn it on at this portion of the season. They know what that requires for them to do. They have a whole bunch of vets on that team that have won Stanley Cups, that know what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, and they know what you have to do around this portion and this time of the season. I expect them to answer the bell and answer the call. I think they're locked to make it in the postseason this year. In reality, right, I think it comes down to really a few things. How hot do the Islanders remain, and what's the effort level we see out of them? The last 5 games, I've liked the effort level. I've liked what we've seen on the winning streak. That's good to see. How long does that continue? What do we see from the Red Wings down the stretch, and what do we see from the Flyers down the stretch? Maybe I'll add the Capitals in there. I just don't think they have a chance to make the postseason, despite only being 1 point behind us with the same amount of games played. I just don't see it happening.
I think the Flyers, admirable job by John Tortorella. I think he's done a great job with that team. They're in a playoff position, and they were selling at the deadline.
Because it's what needed to be done.
That's right. They know they're not good enough. They know
they're not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. It's not like making the postseason is, oh, gotcha, we made the postseason. We should go ahead and throw a celebration. All of our fans should be happy we made the postseason. They understand the real goal and the concept of competing in the NHL is to win a Stanley Cup, not to just say, I'm punching my ticket by getting myself into a playoff spot, right? For everybody who always believes, hey, guys, all we need to do is just make the postseason and anything can happen. Well, the Flyers don't attribute to that, right? Because they very easily could have said, hey, we're in a postseason spot now. Let's add to our team currently because we just want to get that chance to punch our ticket and we can win a Stanley Cup. No, because guess what? They have a realistic expectation that, no, it's not just any team who makes the postseason has a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup. They understand that, and most teams do understand that. It's just the fans that don't.
Right. And that's just part of being a fan, right? So, I mean, nothing wrong with that, but to me, look at the teams who are on the bottom. Detroit, did they have any realistic shot of winning a playoff round?
Probably not.
No. Tampa? No.
I think Tampa does.
Not even with the muscle memory. No. Okay, let's say they have to play Florida in the first round. Are they beating Florida?
I could see it.
No, not me. Florida's a step above this year, without a doubt. I love the moves they've made at their trade deadline. I mean, the Flyers, do they have a shot of winning a playoff series? Best of 7. Again, it's not like one game. No.
Probably not.
No. Does Washington? No.
Probably not. Do the Islanders?
No.
Probably not.
Okay, I think the Rangers.
You see, like we're not being impartial or unfair. There's just certain teams that are not at the same level where I think that the possibility of them winning, right? It's possible. The probability, though, is very low.
Very true. Very true.
And what do you want to say about the Rangers?
Do you really think the Rangers have a legitimate shot to win the Stanley Cup? I don't think so.
I
know they've been good in stretches. But and here's the thing, I think Laviolette's a really good coach. But I don't consider them a favorite.
Depends on how Shesterkin plays,
Yeah.
right? But like, here's the thing: they're more talented than us, and they're more talented than we've been in years past. And what's the saying that all the Lamanites like to use? Well, we've got a fantastic goalie like Sorokin. All we do is need him to get hot, right? Shesterkin, Vezina caliber goalie. He's a guy when he gets hot. I think the team, right? I think that Rangers team has more talent than we have, right? Don't get upset, Islander fans. No, I'm not expressing my love for the Rangers. I'm not a Rangers fan, but I just take a serious, honest look at it. The Rangers have more talent than the Islanders. And depends on what you see from those big guys, right? Depends on what you see. The big issue for the Islanders, too, is, right, our power plays worked well. Our penalty kill's been miserable. It's been miserable all season long. You can't have one side of your special teams in the
Penalty
postseason
kill.
working well. That's what I said, penalty kill.
Oh, I thought you said power play. My bad.
No. Power play's done well. The penalty kill's been bad all season long. You can't have one side of your power. You can't have one side of your power play unit playing well, or you can't have one side of your special units playing well and the other side just playing like absolute shit. You're not going to go ahead and win games that way. You're not going to be successful in the postseason that way. It's just very tough to do. Oh, our 5-on-5 hockey's been some of the greatest under Patrick Waugh. Yeah. Did you look at the penalty kill? It's still awful. It's still putrid. There's a reason for that, and if you don't fix that, good luck.
And what you see when the playoffs come, and it's what the Islanders are going to see. I mean, the Islanders have had a beneficial where playing a lot of teams back to back, 3 games out of 4. Islanders have plenty of rest. You're not going to have that in the playoffs. The team you're playing has the same amount of rest you do. And I just think, again, the teams that give the Islanders problems are young or speedy teams who are aggressive on the forecheck because it exposes their defense. Just does. That's what happens on the power when the other team's on the power play. And now Carolina, right? Now they got Gensel and Kuznetsov on their power play. That makes, and they got Svechnikov back. I mean, they didn't have them last year. And that series, honestly, if Antti Raanta, their backup goalie, didn't play like dog crap, that's a sweep. That game's a sweep. That series is a sweep. He was that bad. They don't have that this year. Do they have the best goaltenders in the conference? Nope, not even close. But better than last year, better than Raanta. I think, like I said, I think the Islanders will make playoffs because we're hot. And again, I think of the next number of games, you're going to see the Islanders in a playoff spot. By the time they come back from that West Coast swing, I feel the Islanders will be in a playoff spot. And the other teams, I just think, are scuffling along. But that doesn't change my opinion on if we're good enough to win a cup. I just don't think we are. I don't even think we're good enough to win a round in the playoffs.
Could be. Now, again, here's coming games, right? Ducks, a game against the Ducks tomorrow. That's a must-win game.
Yes,
right? Can't lose against the Ducks. Right, like you look at the last few games, that overtime. I thought we were outplayed a bit against Dallas, right? Looking at the winning streak we've been on currently.
Yeah, we were.
Not a way to win in Dallas, right? That's an important win. The Red Wings have been really scuffling. They hit post crossbars. They're on a 4-game losing streak now. The Boston Bruins, we beat them, right? At home, we beat the Boston Bruins. Big win, right? You think
worst game of the year for Boston all year. Worst game of the year.
Boston, and I'm not sure, did they play tonight, the Bruins? I don't remember. Anyway, when we had played them, they had lost 10 of their last 15 games. So Boston was scuffling a bit. The Blues, 3 games in 4 nights. The Sharks, we should absolutely destroy the Sharks. We should destroy the Ducks tomorrow.
Yep.
The Kings, I believe, just as we had spoken about, the Kings are a big measuring stick game. It's going to be on the back end to a back-and-back scenario. And it's against a team that is, what are they, third? I'm sorry, I had this pulled out for us. But the Kings are absolutely a team that I think is a measuring stick game. That will be a Monday game, right? We'll have no rest in between. Let's see how that result looks. That is an important game for us because then the schedule starts to get a little harder, right? Well, the Sabres aren't, I wouldn't say a particularly tough team, but you're right. We'll have Tuesday and Wednesday off. Senators aren't a particularly tough team, but then it's like mid-March, right? Rangers, Hurricanes, the Red Wings, who are going to be fighting for a playoff life. You've got here the Winnipeg Jets, the Devils, who I'll be interested to see if they've thrown in the towel at that point. The Panthers, the Lightning fighting for a playoff spot, the Flyers fighting for a playoff spot. two shitty opponents there in the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. Then the Predators fighting for a playoff spot. The Rangers fighting for the number 1 spot in the Metro. The Canadiens, the Rangers, the Devils, and the Penguins.
Yeah. And don't sell Buffalo short. Buffalo's been really good today. They beat Edmonton.
Yeah.
And they've been much better defensively.
Did you see the way that their team celebrated after beating Edmonton today? Holy shit. The reason I bring that up, that team doesn't strike me as a team at the end of the season who says, we're just waving the white flag. Let's kick it to next year. Man, they were celebrating, hugging each other, man, just like they had won a huge game. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they have no chance of making the playoffs, but all those games mean a lot to them. I don't expect that team to come in like, or just roll us over, take a win and we're kicking it to next year. That's not how that Buffalo team struck me today.
And you have, some of the lesser teams at the end, the Devils, the Penguins, they just want to play spoiler at that point.
Sure.
Right? If they're not in competition, I don't think you're going to. Here's the thing. The Devils playing for Travis Green. Do you think they're going to just mail it in with the new head coach? Or, you think they're going to be trying down the stretch? I mean, that's the whole thing.
I don't know. I don't know about the Devils. I'm really not sure. I'll be interested to see what happens with the Devils. It's early into a new coach.
I got to say, after, coming back, like I said, I wouldn't sell Buffalo short. But after coming back from the West Coast swing, the schedule gets a lot tougher for the Islanders the rest of the way.
Yep.
A lot tougher.
Got to take care of the Ducks. Kings is a big game, right? Then we've got the Sabres and then the Senators, right? The Senators, and it's like then things get tough. That's when things get tough.
Well, Buffalo, you're selling Buffalo short.
Okay. So what? 2 very easy opponents in Ottawa and the Ducks, and 2 maybe formidable opponents in the Sabres and the Kings. Guess what? The Ducks or the Sabres aren't the Rangers, the Hurricanes, the Jets, the Red Wings, the Panthers, right? You look at, 5 of the next 6 games. Those are 5 teams that are playoff caliber teams in that next group, right? I'm just saying the Sabres are not a playoff caliber team. The Senators aren't a playoff caliber team. The Ducks aren't a playoff caliber team. Only the Kings are. You got 1 out of your next 4 opponents and then 5 out of your next 6 after that.
Okay. I'm just saying the Sabres are better than you're painting them. That's all.
Okay. That's fine. But I want to talk a little bit. We've talked a lot about setting the scene. What do the postseason picture looks like here? What does that updated look like? I do want to ask and talk about what your opinions were. Islanders, right? 40 minutes into the show. Let's get into the hard-hitting questions. Islanders do nothing at the deadline. What are your thoughts on that, Grump?
I knew they weren't going to sell. You're winning a bunch of games down the stretch like they tend to do around trade deadline day. There no way they were selling. Do I think they should have? Yeah, because we're not good enough. But okay, they didn't. I'm not surprised they didn't buy either. When a team is playing as well as it is right now, who would you trade for and who are you going to sit out? Is there anybody who's like, man, that's really a weakness in our team right now? Maybe you could say the 4th line, but maybe Matt Martin, but you could just slip Hudson Fasching in there, right? You could just slide him in there easily. Kyle McLean is just taken over as the center of that 4th line. I told you 2 years ago, I mean, that kid can play. The fact that he hasn't gotten a shot until now has been criminal. Casey is looking fine on that 3rd line with Engvall and Holmstrom. They've been okay. There's nothing special about them, but you're not sitting any of those guys. Pajot on that 2nd line with Lee, who, again, shockingly has shown more energy and aggression out there since he's been demoted from the 1st line. All of a sudden, he's playing hard again. Palmieri's been really good with he's on a heater right now, and that's the way he is. He's a streaky player too. Right now, we got him on a hot streak, and as well as Pajot. The 1st line has been really good. I mean, I don't know who you trade for or who needed to be replaced.
I'll ask you this: how long, right, does that? Right, we made a line change. Do we think that we're going to roll the rest of the season with Brock Nelson, Nat Barzal, and Bo Horvat on the 1st line?
Why would you change it up?
I think eventually that thing cools off. I think eventually what we're going to see. Do you think long term Kyle Palmieri stays as hot as he is currently?
No.
Jean-Gabriel Pajot is a formidable 2nd line center, and Anders Lee as your second line left wing is going to work out. That line, just player composition wise, is absolute hot garbage for a second line. They are. I'm sorry. That's one, like, right. What I think, I'll give Patrick Waugh an immense amount of credit here, right? Think about how often Lane Lambert was switching up things on a consistent basis for the Islanders this year, plugging and playing, trying to switch up line combinations, trying to get motivation from the guys. Nothing was working. Patrick Waugh does make a few changes, makes a change here, and it results with immediate, and we see immediate results, right? I think that speaks to two things. Different room, different voice in the room absolutely has energized the team. So right, good move by Lou, firing Lane Lambert at that point.
That wasn't a Lou move. That wasn't
good move by ownership then. Whoever you want to give credit to, good move by whoever brought in a new voice because it was needed at that point. The team had tuned out Lane Lambert. And the second thing is this. I like what I've seen from Patrick Waugh. Good line combination change. I mean, like, when you look at it, that immediately kind of makes me shiver thinking, oh crap, we're putting Brock Nelson, Bo Horvat, and Matt Barzal all on one line. What are we going to do for the rest of the three lines that we have? What type of production are we going to see? And it's worked out to this point. Now, the big question is, how long does that stay hot for, right? It's not going to stay playing at the same level we're playing at for the last 20 games of the season and then off into the playoffs. Probably not.
I mean, can I just say one thing I also like with Patrick Waugh, what he's doing? He doesn't just, okay, we're just going to roll the four lines. No, he doesn't do that anymore. He's like, okay, the first line's our best line. They're going to play more. He's much better at doing matchups. He just doesn't, okay, well, no, it's the fourth line's time to go out there. Everyone's got to play the same amount of time. No. They sit. They might miss, one out of every two shifts. They might sit out. I mean, I think it makes them better. And you're seeing the team buying in. I think they've been better defensively, structured defensively. I still think it's a weakness for this team defensively. That's the one thing they could have maybe made a run at, maybe a defenseman, maybe Hannafin, who did Hannafin wind up going to?
No, Hannafin. I mean, there were so many guys that were moved. I'll pull it up. I don't.
Yeah, did he go to Vegas also?
Yeah, Vegas.
Okay. Maybe that's a move that they could have tried for.
I'll tell you this much. The Western Conference is so much tougher than the Eastern Conference. It's not even funny, right? Maybe the Eastern Conference and the Panthers have the best team in the regular season, but top to bottom, the Western Conference is just head over heels better than the Eastern Conference. It's not even close.
What playoff games are you going to want to watch? The West
Coast.
Absolutely.
West Coast games.
I mean, I think you could see any team coming out of the West, honestly. Yeah. They're 1 through 8 is pretty much set right now. I'm not saying that 7th or 8th are going to win, but I think you're going to see more competitive series. Let me just put it to you that way.
Sure. I mean, you're going to see better hockey, right? More talented players on the ice. You're going to see better displays of good hockey. You're going to see moments that leave you in awe and you're impressed with. That's what happens when you have better players on the ice. That's why people love the sport.
Good. Just a side note on the Los Angeles Kings. They had a trade in place for Linus Ullmark from Boston, and he invoked his, nope, I don't want to get traded there. Which I thought was, wow. Okay. You're going to be the number one guy there. It tells me they think they have a goaltending issue there, right?
Yeah. I mean, the Kings are sitting in they're not going to be, I don't think they lose out on a playoff spot. They're too many points ahead of teams like the Blues and everything like that. But the Kings have been,
They're 8 points up.
Yeah, that's what I said. They're not, the Blues aren't catching them. I mean, here's the thing. The Blues losing to us, losing to, I think it was, maybe they beat the Flyers in overtime. I don't remember what it was. And they lost the night after that. They lost against the Devil, whatever it was. They've been losing games left and right. They lost today. I mean, you can't go ahead and go on 4 or 5 game losing streaks at this point of the season if you want to make the postseason.
Yeah, and like I said, we played them second game of back-to-back.
Well, their third night and 4 or third game in 4 nights as well. That means something. I mean, but they're just done. They're out of gas. They're done. Yeah. The Blues have no shot at making a postseason.
Right, and I think. But now you're looking at right now, Vegas is the 8th seed in the West.
Yeah.
I mean, don't tell me that Vegas can't get hot. They're defending Stanley Cup champions.
They're on a 4-game losing streak playing the Red Wings tonight. Both teams in desperate need of a win.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. That's must win. I mean, Vegas, hey, they're like, you know what? We're defending Stanley Cup champions. We're all in. Vegas does that every year, though. They're not afraid. They have creative management. Some days, some years, even when they're selling, they're buying. I mean, this year they're all in. Mark Stone was a big loss for them. They
Yeah.
had to replace him, and they have.
they brought in guys like Mantha, who I don't think much of Mantha, but still, it's it's a body. He's a guy's a big power forward. He'll play an important role in the third line. Hannif in there is a big piece. Or like they added a few big pieces.
Thomas Hertl.
Thomas Hertl. Think about how long they missed Aiden Hill for this year too, and how things would be different if Aiden Hill was healthy. But again, that's hockey, right? You're going to have, right? We're a team that was very fortunate with the injury bug this year. We missed Pelican Pulak for a bit. I'll be honest with you. Our defense was shambolic before them. It's been lackluster after they've returned. But it's new coach. I think definitely we got the new coach bounce right now. Let's see how long we can ride this wave for, right? This is a good time to be getting hot. That's for certain.
Absolutely.
It's you get hot like that, you build up confidence, and then it doesn't matter who you're playing in the playoffs. You think you can win. That's all that matters is the belief, a true belief of the team believing they can win. That's all that matters.
You want to be playing your best hockey at the end of the year, and the Islanders certainly are.
Yep.
And just to throw this out there, you realize that Noah Dobson is still at more than a point per game pace right now.
Yeah. Again, those are we've talked about it again. The future problems of this team are continue to build, and they continue to build, and we have not addressed any of those. And guess what? Those problems, the Pittsburgh Penguins weren't far off when their future problems were continuing to build. And now it is right smack dab in front of them. And it's the same thing, right? I think that the Washington Capitals have done a better job than Pittsburgh and definitely than us about trying to avoid some of those future headaches by being proactive with a retool, with a restructuring. So that helps them. But for us, we've been ignoring problems, and we continue to do that. Let's see how that works out. Now, fans are mixed opinions online. I think there's always a section of the fan group, no matter what Lou does, they're happy. So if Lou would have made a trade, great. That's the person we needed to put us over the top. If Lou did nothing, great. That's what we need because, that wasn't worth the prices that were out there. Or, hey, if Lou sells, well, that's what we need because, they're always just going to be in Lou's camp. That's just what I believe. Now, did you happen to have a chance to listen to some of the comments that Lou Lamoriello made?
I don't listen to what he says. I've tuned him out.
Okay. I did like the question that was asked by Ethan Sears at the tail end of the interview that we were able to catch. Now, talk about guys who ask hard-hitting questions. Now, this is one I like.
We're not seeing anything right now. Just to let you know.
Oh yeah, thank you for letting me know that. Yeah, X must have the settings. Here you go. Let me see if you hear this.
What their job is.
Ethan Sears, New York Post.
I guess on a similar note, that this 5-game winning streak you guys are on, is there a scenario where if the team hadn't started winning, you might have gone in a selling direction? I know you said earlier this week that wasn't what you wanted to do, but I guess again, if the wins hadn't started coming, would you have maybe looked at doing that?
That's a hypothetical question. It didn't happen, so there had to be no thought process with that. You make every decision on all the information you have at that given time when the decision has to be made. And you never look back on if not, that's very destructive.
Back to Andrew Tuesday.
He's a fucking idiot. That's why I don't listen to him. I can't listen to him anymore. Can't listen to him. I would just write the article and say, this is what he meant. And let him come back and say something to you. That's what I would do. Because he's not, it's a most questions are hypothetical questions, jack off. Let's be honest, right? He asked you, that's a fair question. That's a really fair question. And he couldn't even answer it. Well, what's a hype? No shit.
Jesus. I did kind of chuckle at that. Oh, well, it's hypothetical. We don't put ourselves. So like, when you were planning, let me ask you this, Lou. When you were planning for the deadline, do you start planning, I don't know, maybe a month in advance, a few weeks in advance? You know, what type of planning do you do?
You
Well,
should be looking at every. Should you not be looking at every possible scenario?
That's what I was about to say if you would let me finish. But
Well,
yeah,
here's the thing. It takes me 2 seconds, not 10 minutes. Just say it.
I know you're too busy watching things. That's fine. But you're exact. We do one a week. You still watch things. Come on, Grump.
Dude, I'm
Now,
not watching anything. Just fucking get to the point.
That
Please.
being said, right? 5 games ago, if you're trying to tell me you wouldn't think, okay, if our team does this, this is what I'll do, or if our team does this, this is what I'll do. You hadn't run through more than one scenario in your head as to what could happen. He just doesn't want to answer questions. He never does. That's what I take from that. But I did kind of chuckle about that's destructive to do any sort of hypothetical thinking on our scenario.
He should not be a general manager, because if you're not thinking of every possible scenario, you should not be a general manager. That would have been my follow-up. How can you be a general manager and not consider every possible alternative? Everything is a hypothetical situation until it happens. I mean, that's why I can't listen to him anymore. He's so full of shit. I just can't wait for him to be gone. Give me somebody who is at least going to be honest.
Well,
not just everything's bullshit comes out of his mouth. I hate him.
Oh man. Yeah. So we did nothing. Now I'll tell you this. I'm not upset with it. I'm not upset with what we did at the deadline, or lack of what we did at the deadline. I'd have been upset if we bought. Absolutely, I would have. Our team who hasn't had a first round pick in 4 years in a row, right? Historically, when that happens, 4 teams have done that. They haven't had a first round pick 4 years in a row. The Blues were longer. They had 6, but it was the Red Wings during their dynasty, the Penguins during their dynasty, and you had the Rangers. Now, Rangers were the only team that escaped unscathed from trading away 4 first-round picks in a row. And it's because they drafted guys like Buchnevich, they drafted guys like Shesterkin, and they had Panarin signed via free agency, and they had Fox say, I only want to play for the Rangers. That absolutely helped them out. But guess what? The Red Wings, 4 first-round picks in a row, trading those away. You've been witnessing the 7 or 8 year rebuild that the Red Wings had to endure because of that. The Penguins, well, guess what? They're going to have a lengthy rebuild upcoming as well. Unless we have top-tier players in free agency say, hey, we want to come to the island. Or unless we have guys who are young 20-year-olds say, I only want to play for the Islanders, that are going to be, Norris Trophy winning defensemen. I'm saying that there may be a rude rebuild in our future too, but we have to push forward for the now, right? That's the only thing we can do. I'm happy we didn't trade pieces away. The pieces, honestly, that were out there were cheap. Yeah. They were cheap this year. They were. Like you look at it, right? Kuznetsov this year and next year, a guy making 3 and change. You only had to give up a 3rd round pick for. Maybe he has issues. We'll see if that pans out for Carolina long term. Looked like he was motivated today. We'll see how that plays out. But
he'll be motivated for the rest of the year.
Jake Gensel, a few prospects and a 3rd round pick, or 2nd round. Was it a 2nd round pick?
I thought there was a 1st round pick.
No, it was not a 1st round pick. I'll pull up the trade. Don't worry. But like you look at some of those guys who were traded, not a lot of players. I'm pulling up, Grumpy. Not a lot of guys went, for a high amount. It was 2 draft picks there for Jake Gensel. It was, a conditional 1st round pick and a conditional 5th round pick.
I think if they win the cup, it's a 1st, something like that. And Anthony Duclair wound up getting moved to Tampa right at the deadline also yesterday.
Yeah. So it's I'm sorry. No, the 1st round pick will become a 2nd round selection in the 2024 draft if Carolina does not advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. So pretty much saying, hey, if you don't make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, you got a 2nd round pick, but it could be a 1st only if you make it to the Cup Finals. So I'd be fine making it to the Cup Finals if I give up a 1st round pick, right? But really, Jake Gensel on a rental was a 2nd round pick. Could be a 1st if you make it to the Finals, and 3 prospects and a 5th round pick. The prices were not a lot, right? Jake Gensel, the guy, unless the team guarantees to make it to the Finals, a 2nd round pick, 3 prospects, all mid-tier prospects, and a 5th round pick, a 2nd, a 5th, and 3 prospects. The asking price was not a lot on these guys out here this year.
Well, it was an underwhelming return
Yes.
for those players.
Well, I'm
And-
just saying for Lou, if he wanted to add, he would not have had to give up very much to add at this year's deadline.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's because he's old, he's stupid, and he's old. So now here's the thing. What are the young GMs doing? We're not paying those prices. I mean, everyone knew that Pittsburgh was moving Gensel after that Calgary disaster and then getting blown out the next day by Edmonton. The writing was on the wall, and everyone knew it. So it was rumors that he was going to Vancouver. It was supposed to be a three-way deal that included Boston taking Elias Lindstrom, who is that his name Lindstrom? The guy they picked up from Calgary.
Elias Lindholm?
Lindholm, that's it. He was rumored to go to Boston, but they couldn't work out the finances, so that didn't happen. So that then Carolina, and they think maybe he'll go to the Rangers, but Carolina took him, right? Carolina is a team that's never been all in come the deadline, where they go out and get a guy like Gensel. Never. They might get an ancillary piece here and there, but they never took the big swing. Maybe they're saying, you know what? We've been to how many Eastern Conference Finals? We don't win them. Maybe it's time to take a big swing this year. I think it's going to be tough for them to be Florida. Florida is really good.
Real quick, Lindholm went from Calgary to Vancouver.
Right. They were going to move him in a deal. If they got Gensel, they were going to move Lindholm to Boston as a three-way deal.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's as simple as this. I'm happy he abstained and he avoided the temptation to add. I just am. I wonder if we're already too far past the inflection point. We'll see. I think possibly. And I think that's probably the likely scenario. But hey, we're on a 5-game winning streak right now. I anticipate after tomorrow we'll be on a 6-game winning streak, and that's a big game against the Kings. Let's see how we play against the Kings.
Yeah. To me, that's a game that I want to watch. I want to see how they look. I mean, I think the Kings will make the playoffs. If they're third in their division or if they're a wild card team, I think they will make playoffs. But that's a big game for the Islanders. If they come out and blow doors on the Kings, maybe we're looking at something a little bit different here.
Yeah, maybe again, maybe you're looking at maybe it's a legitimate run. As simple as that, right? Because that's what it is, right? When teams get hot, things can happen. Now, given you need to have talent, right? Eventually the heater wears, right? You're not going to say, great guys, for the last 30 games of the season, for 20 games in the regular season and 10 games in the postseason, we're winning 80% of our games or 90% of our games. Unlikely, right? That's just not likely. So, you're going to have to be more than just hot. You're going to have to be a talented team. Now, I think that's where the issue comes up. I'm not sure we're talented enough. I do believe right now, I wish the playoffs started today. Well, not today. If we were in a postseason spot, I wish the playoffs started today because I think the way we're playing, right, this type of hot style could absolutely knock a few teams off in the postseason if we're playing this hot.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best we've played all year.
Yes.
And again, while we were getting loser points, yeah, they all help. You realize Pittsburgh and the Islanders have the same amount of wins and losses this year in the same amount of games.
Yeah.
But the Islanders have many more loser points. But I mean, the way we're playing right now, I think we'd be tough. We'd be a tough team. Absolutely would be. I just don't think we match up with the best in the conference, which is Carolina, the Rangers, and Florida. I think those are the 3 best teams. I don't think Boston's that good. Boston will beat Toronto. If Boston plays Toronto, Toronto's going to be out in the first round. And I don't think Boston's that good. I think Boston's running on fumes.
I think Boston has no shot in hell. They're not a real contender to win a cup. No shot. None.
No. I think Florida is going to steamroll to the conference finals.
And Carolina will too.
I
think those are the 2 best teams. How does the only question Carolina has, how does Kochetkov continue to play? Is Freddie Anderson healthy enough? Does he play? What's the impact he has? Right, because now you had the question in, right? Before a hot Kochetkov, it was always Freddie Anderson's the starter. Freddie Anderson's been missing almost the entire freaking year. He comes back here recently, but he's right now the backup. unless something clearly defines who the starter is going to be, who knows what that scenario looks like. But how well does Kochetkov continue to play? He was putrid at the beginning of the season, much better in the second half. Let's see. That's the only thing that stopped them. Goaltending, possibly.
Yep. And you remember last year again? I mean, I think didn't the Panthers sweep Carolina? Was it 5 or 4 or 5?
They swept them, I think.
Those games were all like 1-goal games.
Yep. And here's the thing. Florida got hot. Now, also the thing.
Yeah.
Florida's a damn good team. Just like we told you. It didn't matter that they squeaked in by 1 point. 2 years ago, they were the President's Trophy winners, the best team in all of the NHL for the regular season. Last year, they squeaked in as an 8 spot. And guess what? They're getting ready to win another President's Trophy this season as well, perhaps. They're that fucking good. They had 1 year that was an outlier, which was last year, where they had a whole bunch of changes go on. They had a new coach. All that happened. And guess what? It took them a while to reestablish themselves. But anybody who was pretending last year and they went up with that little facade of, hey, they squeaked in at the 8 spot and anything could happen. They made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, you're being disingenuous because you're ignoring the fact that they won the President's Trophy last year. And guess what? They won or may win the President's Trophy again this year.
I just look at it this way. What did they need? And part of the reason they struggled this year, their top 2 defensemen were out till the middle of December. Tail end of December. Montour and Ekblad. And they do have a lot of UFAs at the end of this year. They absolutely do. But you're looking at it. What did they need? They needed a sniper on the second line to go with Matt Tkachuk. They get Tarasenko. First game in, he scores 2 goals.
2 goals and 1 assist. I think it was the second game, but 2 goals and 1 assist.
Okay, just think about that. That gives them 2 rock solid, big production lines. They're going to be really, really tough. Really tough to beat. Would it stun me if they won the Stanley Cup? Nope. Not
it always blows my mind when people are like, I don't know why Florida would trade for a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko, even though I think Tarasenko, the best hockey's behind him. Guess what? In Florida, Tarasenko is just like one of these guys where they're like, hey, we don't really have many expectations for you. We may want you to, we'll need you to go ahead and perform in the postseason, right? We need you to perform, but it's not like, hey, we're bringing you in with the expectation that you're going to be the guy here. No, you're just an ancillary piece. You're a secondary piece. We expect production from you, but you're not the guy here. And it allows you to really go ahead and open up your game. But why would they trade for a guy like that? Well, you're going to see, and we've already seen already, 2 goals and 1 assist on that team. You're going to see that line is a really solid and formidable line. And that's right. Injuries happen in the postseason. You can never have enough depth. Simple as that. And I think Florida absolutely is the best team in the NHL. Well, they have the best record in the NHL right now. I think they're head over heels better than Boston right now. They're playing much better hockey than Boston too. That's a team to watch out for.
Like I said, for me, the Tarasenko ad was a no-brainer, honestly. Oh, well, he doesn't play defense. He doesn't have to on that team. But you know what you see? You see him coming back because that's the team culture. So, I mean, and he wants to win a cup. I mean, I think it motivates guys. I do. I thought Florida did great at the deadline. I think the 3 big winners, Vegas, Carolina, and Florida. And, I mean, that's all you can say. Okay, did we want to do our ad read?
We're going to do our ad read. I just popped this up just so you can read it and get a chuckle out of it before we transition to the ad. But I do like this. Matthew C. says here, in Lou we trust, giving this group one last shot.
I think that's a sarcastic comment.
No, I don't think it is.
Well,
a lot of people are saying that.
I'm going to view it as such.
Well, it's not, but that's fine.
But here's the thing. In 2 weeks, if we lose, 6 games in a row because we play playoff teams, then what are we all going to be saying? It's a season of ups and downs. It is.
Yeah,
But I'd rather be playing like we are now than what we were playing like earlier.
I'd rather be playing hot, inspired hockey now than at the beginning of the season. So it's definitely a good time to get hot. Let's hope this is not just a 5-game blip and then we return back to what we are. I hope this is, hey, we can ride the wave and maybe this earns our team and we gain some confidence with it. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. We know hockey games move fast, but DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can move faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers could bet, I don't know what the hell that says. Maybe bet $5. I don't know. They could bet, they could bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Again, you've heard us talk about DraftKings Sportsbook, the same game parlays you can go ahead and add up. You could say, hey, I'm expecting Sorokin to have a shutout. I'm expecting Matty B to collect at least 1 point. I'm expecting Noah Dobson to go ahead and register a point. You can add a whole bunch of bets and wagers in one game and increase your payout exponentially, grumpy old man. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code THPN. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available. If you have a gambling problem, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. You must be 21 years or older, but age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources.
Nice.
Whoo, grumpy. I felt like one of those guys who is like a carnival barker on the TV.
Nice job. Or an auctioneer.
An auctioneer. Whoo, my throat's dry. Brendan Nelson says, no buy or no sell, no buy, just another year of NHL purgatory.
That's fair.
That's not wrong. Now, I did find this interesting. People are, online, people have mixed feelings, mixed results. As simple as that is what I'll say. When we're looking here, right, we always talk about Lou Lamoriello, the responses he has, right? Always, I believe in this team. I believe in the core. I like our group. And it's just like every single year he's saying the same shit. We like our group. We like our group. We like our group. We add maybe a few players here or there. But I mean, for the most part, when's the last time we've done something on the day of the deadline?
I don't know.
I mean, we do it before, so I'm not really complaining, right? Like I saw, oh man, who the hell was that goon, Grumpy? Oh shit, I thought I was putting this up on the screen.
Well, Engvall was a deadline.
John Scott. No, was he a trade deadline day acquisition?
I think he was a deadline day deal. Okay.
Like John Scott. Do you remember John Scott, who was voted in by the player vote as an all-star?
Yes.
Not a big fan of Lou doing nothing. And he spoke about it. It's making its way across Islanders Twitter and Islanders social media, etc. Oh man, Lou Lamoriello hasn't done anything on the day of the deadline for 4 years. I'm like, well, the one thing I will say, just to be fair to Lou, I don't care if you make the deal, Grumpy, a week before or 2 weeks before. If you're still doing it around the time period as the deadline, I'm still counting it as a deadline deal. I just am.
Yes, I agree. But we did nothing this deadline period. Nothing.
That's right. That's right. Matthew S. Grumpy.
Glad old man decided stand pat. Jeremy always has good questions. Happy Saturday night. Was the Islanders' biggest cause to their upturn the return of Pelican Pulak while being hired, the changing of the lines, or the rise in production from the defense? For me, it's Wah being hired, without a doubt. And the changing of the lines, that was because of Patrick Wah. The more structure in the defense, that was because of Patrick Wah. I don't think Pelican Pulak had anything to do with it, honestly. Nothing.
I'll tell you this. I think it's the players in the room finally determining that they need to step up their game. I take the stance of this. I think Patrick Waugh has helped that. But these are guys who tune out coaches like the snap of a finger, like the flip of a light switch. And if you do that frequently, you also can tune in pretty quick too. The first 10 games under Patrick Waugh, losing record. I'm not saying you need to have immediate results, but I am saying this. I think a lot more, again, is on the players. And that's also why if Patrick Waugh fails, let's say he's still in charge next year, he signed a multi-year deal to join the Islanders. But if he fails, if they tune him out, which is definitely a possibility, this group of players likes to tune out coaches a la Barry Trotz, a la Lane Lambert, a la what will be Patrick Waugh. It won't be Patrick Waugh's fault. It will be the player's fault. So I still go ahead and stand by that. We've got here Freedom Fund Adventure saying, Grumpy, does the warden know that the two sons treat you just horribly? What does she think of it? We all know she can't stand TJ's potty mouth.
She doesn't care.
Oh, look at you. Woe is me. John Smith said, neglecting that kid already, huh, TJ? LOL. Well, that's why we've only got the show once a week. So I only have, once a week we do the show on the weekends when I have some time. Frankie G said, we missed a twice a week show. I know. It was odd. Was it odd for you on Wednesday and Thursday not to do a show, Grumpy?
No, I'm flexible.
It
I'm
felt a little
malleable. I'm able to overcome and adapt. I have no problems there.
It felt a little different not doing a show on Wednesday and Saturday.
I know it felt different for you not doing the show for a while because you kept on jumping in during the shows. Even when you were off, you're still jumping in. And we appreciate it. I'm just saying.
I'll tell you this much: you needed the help. Let me put it you that way.
TJ the savior. Okay. Next comment.
I'm just trying to say is we're happy. We're still happy to be doing the show. We're happy to make the shift to once a week. It was odd only doing it once a week, and it will be odd for the first few times only doing it once a week. But yes, we're still going to bring the same effort that we always do in all of our shows. Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
The Emperor has no pants. Reporters say Lou can't make trades because he has no assets. They failed to mention he is the one who traded the assets and refused to sell assets. What if he traded UFAs last year? Exactly. That's what he should have done. He's not capable. He's not capable of doing the job anymore. Just not.
Were people trying to say that the reason we didn't make a trade at this year's deadline is because we didn't have assets? I didn't know that was even a talking point out there in the Islanders sphere.
I said it. What assets you have? You have a first-round pick and Oliver Wahlstrom. That's it. That's all you got.
The rumor was via sources that Wahlstrom was available if teams wanted him. What type of value does Oliver Wahlstrom have?
I mean, he would have been valuable.
Ground.
The only type of deal you can make with Oliver Wahlstrom is moving him for another underachiever on another team, young underachiever. That's it. Or he's a throw-in piece with a first-rounder to get somebody. That's it. Nick D says, Grumpy, TJ, how you guys doing tonight? Fantastico trade deadline day. Lou was forced not to do anything. Well, I hope that's the reason. Typical Torch refused to leave after being ejected. Well,
yeah, I did see that Tortorella got tossed.
Yeah, good for him.
Oh, man, I tell you. Got a comment here from Freedom Fund Adventure. Says here, James Farrell, X has no show. He is a no-show. TJ, only wants to work once a week. Neither can do 10 push-ups. I'm hoping the United States of America doesn't need to go to war anytime soon. I could do more than 10 push-ups, maybe about 11. 10 in one girl push-up.
12.
Rick Rowe, my grump.
Flyers getting destroyed only a matter of time before the Islanders are in third. Lou is a Hall of Famer for a reason, fellas. Yeah, it has nothing to do with Lou Lamoriello. I don't think he run. Here's the thing. If he was running the Flyers, what do you think they'd be? They'd be still in the basement. I mean, John Tortorella's done a great job there. Daniel Briere is the GM. I don't like the Flyers, but they're a team that's on the upswing. I don't know how long Tortorella lasts there because his style wears players out. Absolutely does.
Yep. Phil's Facts has life. I know, says Charles Dittmer. The one shitty thing about the Islanders making the postseason that Phil still survives on Twitter for another fucking year.
Yeah. Still got to make the playoffs, though. Long way to go.
I think it is. Here's the thing. There's work that is still left to be done and yet to be done. I think, though, our chances of making the postseason are much greater than not at this point. With the teams that are around us selling and saying, hey, we're waving the flag, we're changing direction of the team, I think it just means that there's less potential people grabbing at a piece of the pie. That's simple. Here's a comment here. Thomas Bach, Grump.
Do we really want Lou to make moves? I don't. No one does. No one does. I want a new GM. That's what I want.
We've got a lot of comments. You guys were dead wrong about the Penguins. Yeah, we got a lot of those comments. Yes, we were wrong about the Penguins at the beginning of the season. We said the Penguins have a chance to make the postseason.
Yep.
And I'd say here, even before that Calgary loss, they were 2 points behind us with 3 games in hand. I still thought they had a very good chance. I mean, shit. But that's why do we say we always would rather have the points in the game in hands? For reasons exactly like that. Tristan Jarry fumbles the bag. And then the next game out there, Nedeljkovic gives up 5 or 6 goals. The next game out there, they lose 2 games in very convincing fashion. And then what they've been playing without Gensel, and they say, fuck it, we're trading away Gensel. And it's like, oh, all the wind goes out of the sail of the Penguins. Oh, and they're done. That's simple. Yeah. That's how quick shit can change in the NHL.
And I said, yes, I thought Pittsburgh was making playoffs.
I did too.
But I also said Tristan Jarry was the one equalizer. And that Calgary game, that ended their season, without doubt.
Yeah, absolutely here. Brendan Nelson, Grump.
The thing that annoys me the most is the message making no move sends. The old man thinks this team is right in the middle of the window with brighter days ahead. Well, he's wrong. We're at the tail end of the window, and the storm clouds are brewing. I mean, even if we do make it in the playoffs and get beat in the first round, what does it matter? Is that the goal? Just to squeak into the playoffs for 2 playoff games? I don't know.
Well, for 6 games, or for where we get home ice 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games.
I'm perplexed. I'm always perplexed by the thought process of we should be excited to make the postseason. That should be the fucking expectation.
It should be a given that you're making postseason
every single year. If your team has been buying and trading away assets for the last 5 years in a row, the last 4 years in a row to make your current team better, the expectation is you should be making the postseason every fucking year. That simple. And I'm like, we've given up 4 first-round draft picks in a row. We should be in a team that should be, the expectation is to make the postseason. And this year will be similar to last year. Not in a playoff spot, not in a playoff spot, not in a playoff spot. We may be able to back our way into a playoff spot right as the season starts to end and die down. And that's probably what the scenario looks like for us, same as last year. And then we lose in the first round and get bounced. And then they'll find some new scapegoat. Hey, Sorokin didn't have a .970 save percentage this postseason series. He's the reason we lost. Let's blame him. Dobson didn't have 10 points in 5 games. Let's blame Dobson. They'll find somebody they want to blame it on, but never actually the real core issue. Next comment here, Grumpy, is from Freedom Fund Adventure.
Per Elliot Friedman, Oliver Wilson was available. Only a mook like Lou would kill a guy's trade value, then shop him. He's done that numerous times. Lou is no longer fit for duty. Put his ass out the pasture. 100% agree. Needs to go.
Oh, man. Here you go. John Smith.
You do realize, Grump, if the Islanders make the playoffs, Phil will be even more insufferable than normal, don't you? How do you figure? He thinks the team's good enough to win Stanley Cup. I don't. So, like I said, you get beat in the first round. What does it matter? There is no difference.
He'll be hanging his hat that he was right about the team making the playoffs and you were wrong.
You'll be, just name any team that squeaks into the playoffs every year and gets beat in the first round.
You're half the teams. Half the teams make the postseason.
Minnesota. Are you the Minnesota Wild of the
Minnesota is better than us.
Yeah, they are.
That's why they beat us this year, too.
I'm just trying to think of a team that just slithers into the playoffs every year, then gets beat.
Yep.
I mean,
D-Cut says, do you remember when you guys were drooling about the Penguins before the season? Take it deep, you 2 bald-headed jerks. Now, D-Cut, I brought this comment up because I do remember that some people who were commenters and listeners of the show mentioned that how guys like No Hit Noah and guys like the Ballerina were so bad. But I'd say that really, the entire catalyst for our team's success has been No Hit Noah, and the Ballerina. Those have been the guys who have been the reason we've been successful this year.
No, the way you rephrase that, the way you rephrase your response is, remember, D-Cut, when you were saying about No Hit Noah and the Ballerina Barzell? Enough said. Next comment.
Freedom Fund Adventure.
Islanders should have sold Clutterbuck. Yeah, okay. Martin, no value. Pajot. They weren't moving anybody. And I don't blame them for not moving the guys when you see a team win 5 games in a row before the deadline. I don't blame them. They're hot. So I wouldn't have done it either. Lou could have upgraded with what? Just 2 of them are UFAs who should not be resigned. You're right, they won't be. Lou again failed to get value for a UFA. Bad feeling to not trust management. I don't think – how much value do you think Clutterbuck had? Maybe a 4th-round pick? I mean, Martin, no trade value.
But, every 3rd and 4th-round pick matters. I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to say, 4th and 5th and 6th round picks and 3rd round picks don't matter. No, they do. They all matter. They don't have a high. They have a possibility of being something successful, not a high probability though. But still, it's possible, right? I mean, what type of impact do we think Matt Martin's going to have on our team if we were to win a cup? Let's say we win a cup in this scenario. What type of impact does Matty Martz have?
None.
See you later, Matt Martin. You're being shipped off for a 6th round selection. I don't give a shit. See you later, Matt. Hey, Cal Clutterbuck, they're offering your 4th round pick. See you later, Cal. That's simple. Got to hear a comment there from Rick Roma.
Drager and Friedman said there was interest in Matt Martin. LOL, I don't buy it. Well, maybe there was, but you know what? That's what a good GM does. They just kick the tires on everybody. Yeah, you're looking to move Matt Martin. What are you looking for? Well, that's just a hypothetical situation. Is that how he talks to other GMs? We're looking to make a trade. Well, that's a hypothetical. Is that how he answers to the GM?
They're asking Lou, like, hey, Lou, would you ever consider selling? No, I'd never consider. What happens if you lost your next?
That's a hypothetical question.
Let's consider if hypothetically you lost your next 6 games. Would you consider selling? Well, we don't ever think about hypotheticals here.
Let's talk about another hypothetical. What would happen if they kicked your ass out the door because you're 85 fucking years old?
He's only 82, Grumpy. Come on.
Get him out.
Oh man. Okay. Here you go. Mark A, Grumpy.
TJ was criminally wrong about the Islanders.
Yeah, I was definitely wrong. I'm not sure I'd call it criminally wrong about the Islanders. I definitely was wrong about the Islanders. Now, and again, they still may not make the playoffs. I think that the likelihood, again, for us is more likely than not. And at the beginning of the season, I said about a 50-50 chance. It's a toss-up. I think that's still where we sit now, but maybe the odds are a little bit more in our favor. Jeremy Ford, Grumpy.
Oh, the Caps following suit with the Penguins next year. They're already ahead of the curve. They started selling last year.
Yep.
They sold off this year too.
Yep. Hey, anytime they find pieces they could sell. See you later.
I think the Caps are in better shape, but not much better. Not much better. They're both going to be bad teams for a while.
Well, here's the big thing for the Capitals. Have they found themselves a goalie who may be formidable for them for a few years?
The lingering kid's been pretty good.
And the funny thing is, he's not a kid. He's 30 years old.
Okay.
That's my point. He's been a career journeyman. He hasn't even been a journeyman. He's only played 91 games, and 62 of those games have come in the last 2 seasons. He's been historically just a guy who's been a career AHL goalie, but seems to have been playing good hockey. Where, like, you talk about a guy where, like, okay, he may be good for a few years. So sometimes it takes goalies a while, but, like, it gives Washington more ammo to continue their rebuild.
That's fair.
JP Grump.
Good evening. Just a different take here. I believe collusion's alive and well in Bettman's NHL. The teams that Gary wants to give a push to, Vegas, Florida in particular, get the push at the deadline. Okay. Next.
You're not even going to entertain that, Grumpy?
No. It's only a 2-hour show. I can't. I'm not going down some rabbit hole. No.
Well, Grumpy, I hope you understand. I don't have everything started all the way through because your other son doesn't want to show up to work. Come on, Grumpy. You need to get him to get motivated to show up on the. We're only going 2 days a week. You can't show up the 2 days we're here, Grumpy. Come on.
Don't blame me. Mark A says Islanders might be the 5th best in the conference.
Wow.
I'm going to say pump the brakes because I want to see what we look like after this last little easy stretch we have. I think we only have after that like 3 or 4 games against non-playoff teams. 4.
Yeah. Oh, man. Here you go. JP Grump.
The New York Islanders ownership is terrible. I think it's safe to say that now. I don't blame ownership for what they did at the deadline. I don't blame them. They need to get rid of the old man. Move Patty Waugh upstairs and just move on. JP says the Islanders owners are not dumb, but there are enough marks who believe in this product based on 11 days of good play at a weird time in the schedule to keep enough people in seats while they build. Well, that's true.
Yep.
I do agree with that.
I tell you, it's
how they go from the worst team in the league to Stanley Cup champions in the course of a week and a half.
The lows haven't really gotten us low this year. It's the same reason why I think the highs don't really get as high this year. Just kind of like, okay, what was the expectation? Go look at every single podcast we've had at the beginning of the season. What was the expectation? Team who's average to above average, who maybe squeeze into a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I'm happy about, I was worried about was we were going to be in the middle of no man's land, and at the trade deadline, we were going to trade away another first-round pick.
You
so
realize
I look at this as a success already. We didn't trade away another first-round pick this year.
You realize 11 days ago, we were 12th in the conference. 12th.
That's just, think about that. But hey, we should be celebrating like we're the 3rd best team in the
We're
league.
9th. We're 9th.
Oh, man. I tell you. Here you go. Got a comment here from Jeremy Ford Grump.
What are your thoughts on the Devils this year? I had them pegged as a top 3 team in the Metro, as did I, but they just haven't gotten it together like they were rolling last year. A lot of times when you see young teams who come out of nowhere, the next year they kind of slump a little bit. I thought that they should have fired Lindy Rupp earlier in the season. He was supposedly on the hot seat really early in the season, and they kept him. I think that was a mistake. They didn't get a goaltender, and that's the one thing. If you listen to our preseason, predictions, Same thing with Carolina, by the way. Those teams need a goaltender to be elite. I was stunned that they didn't go after Hellebuck when he was available. Stunned. I mean, I don't know why they want to hoard all their prospects. They should be in it to win it. They're a young team, though. They will bounce back. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't think Travis Green is the answer at coach, though. And they still need a goaltender because Jake Allen's not the answer either.
Oh, God almighty. I'm just reading through some of these comments here. D-Cut there, Grump.
Carolina can't win an Eastern Conference final game with that steroided up Brindamore. Let's break the 8-game losing streak before we hand them the cup. I don't think anyone's saying they're winning the cup. I think Florida, but I think Carolina's second best team in the conference. It wouldn't shock me if Carolina or Florida made it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
I think Carolina has a legit chance this year. I really do. How do the goalies play? That's the biggest thing for them. How do goaltenders play for them? Because Florida is a fucking damn good team. Absolutely, they are. They're bona fide the team. Simple as that. Culture change. Kachuk, different type of guy, different cat. They added big piece there in Tarasenko that I think will be successful for him. D-Cut.
You know, D-Cut's getting a lot of run today for a guy who hasn't been on the podcast in 6 months? What's going on? Kuznetsov is back on the wagon. Loves his Coke too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. He looked pretty damn good. I was stunned that he looked that good. Stunned.
Right.
Ariel says, give me the Rangers in round 1 if we make it. If you guys think we would get rolled by the Rangers, you're crazy. I'm going to say, Ariel, I absolutely hope we do not play the Rangers in the first round because I don't want it to ruin your marriage.
Ooh,
Her husband is a diehard Ranger fan. That's just a little bit too much turmoil in year 1 of the marriage. No. Matthew C. says, I don't want to face the Rangers in the first round. I think we can beat them, but God forbid we lose. We'll be abused all summer. Yeah. I don't think the rivalry is anywhere near as strong as it used to be.
We don't live up there, though.
Yeah, but you know what? You don't play enough games against those teams anymore. This year is 4. Last year was 3. It's not enough. We used to play them 8 times a year. Those were battles. And then in the playoffs. Playoffs,
right? Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
The Islanders are not built for playoff hockey. That's not true. Did anyone watch the playoffs last year? They were physical and nasty, lots of fighting. These soft-ass country club boys aren't built for that. I disagree. I think we do play playoff style hockey. Now, when it gets a little bit too physical, that's not.
I think the reason I think we play playoff style hockey, we're a team that likes to hold, clutch, and grab, and in the playoffs, that shit never gets called. And the teams like Edmonton and the teams that try to win on the fancy, beautiful play never have a chance to win because, as they say, the Stanley Cup playoffs is a whole different type of hockey than it is in the regular season. And that's the damn truth of it, unfortunately.
But the other teams are allowed to do it also.
Yeah, but some teams don't do that. Edmonton was not right. Edmonton always complained, right, when they got their early dismissals out of the playoffs in years past. Well, they're not. They're holding, clutching, and grabbing. None of these are being called against us, and their team doesn't do that. Well, the Islanders have no problem at all grabbing sticks of opponents and rolling into shit, holding, clutching, and grabbing. I mean, the Islanders like to sell, and they like to. The Islanders are, as they like to say very nicely, they're a veteran group of guys that know how to get calls, right? That's what the Islanders are, Grump. Frankie G.
I want to play the Rangers. They suck on 5-on-5. Well, they might suck at 5-on-5, but you know what? They're better than us.
Ariel there, Grumpy.
You guys must be shocked that we have our 2024 first rounder. No, I didn't think we were going to make a deal. I really didn't. I think I was even on the record of that. I didn't think we had enough ammunition, and there was nobody out there that I thought would jeopardize someone's playoff spot. We didn't have the prospects to offer Pittsburgh for a Gensel. We didn't have the prospects and the draft picks to offer to get Noah Hannafin. We just didn't have that. We could have maybe taken a run at Adam Henrique. What's the sense? Or Frank Vetrano. Boy, talk about a guy you didn't want to trade for, Frank Vetrano.
Thank God.
I mean, you don't want to trade for guys who want a career year or a burner. Those are not the guys you want to trade for. Tell me what the guy's done over the course of his career, not somebody who's done great in 10 games. No.
Yeah, right. Here we go. Got a comment here from Ponyboy Curtis, Grumpy.
Hey, boys, I'm going to WHL game tonight, going to see the Portland Winterhawks.
Have fun, buddy. Do some scouting reports for us. We don't have anybody on that team right now, but who knows? Mark A says here, only one team wins the cup, boys. Only one.
That's true.
That's with every professional sport. Only one team wins the Super Bowl. One team wins the NBA Finals. One team wins the Stanley Cup. But that's why when you win it, one team wins the World Series. That's everything. Yeah. One team wins March Madness. It's all professional sports.
But there are other things you could win. Like you could win a conference, or you could win a division.
Yeah.
Those are possibilities too.
Division, conference, you can win you can win a President's Trophy. There's a lot of different things you can win. We don't have too many wins recently.
Ariel says Florida looks like a team to beat, but I bet you they don't win the cup. The best team usually doesn't win it all. I'm picking them to win the cup. I know we're 20 games out of the playoffs, but injuries.
Give Grumpy 10 games and he's gonna be fucking picking Carolina to win the cup.
Carolina again. Here's the thing. I think Carolina and Florida are the two best teams in the conference. I don't even think it's close. I'd go the Rangers after that, and then everybody else is in the suck zone. I don't think Boston's worth a damn. Toronto, no. At least they won a playoff series last year, so that buys Keep. I got Keep a 3-year contract extension, if you could believe that. Winning one playoff series.
Oh man. Okay, here we go. We got here. Andrew L says Panarin has been no shows in the postseason. That's true. Kreider's had like 1 5-on-5 goal since Christmas. I cannot verify that. I have no idea. And it's something similar with Mika Zibanejad. The one thing I will say, everybody loves talking about 5-on-5. Well, guess what? If your team's good on the power play and you generate offense on the power play and you score goals on the power play, they count just as equal as the goals 5-on-5 do.
Special teams, when the teams are
it's a 2-2 tie game in double overtime and somebody gets a power play. Go ahead, Grump.
Or when you're in the playoffs, the teams are much closer in talent level. So the special teams are what make the difference. They talk about it every year. When we beat the Flyers the first year, we had like a 38% power play. That's why the Flyers couldn't goon it up against us anymore, because it wound up in the back of their net. That's the thing that sets the good teams in the bad. The fact that we're terrible on the penalty kill is problematic. The fact that Carolina now has Svechnikov and Gensel and Kuznetsov on their power play is problematic for us. The fact that Kreider and Panarin and Zibanejad, I don't give a shit what they do 5-on-5. You go in the box, you're getting scored on. We saw that in the Winter Classic game, Stadium Series game. We took a penalty, we gave up a goal. It's just that plain and simple. We have to get better on the penalty kill. I don't know if it's possible for this year.
Yeah. It certainly has been the case. What's the number one penalty killer? The best penalty killer you can have? A good goalie. So maybe Sorokin gets hot. Who knows? Rick Roma says, TJ, your Red Wings are collapsing. I'm thinking of you in this tough time. Well, I tell you one thing. Tonight is a big game for the Red Wings. It's also a big game for the Vegas Golden Knights. Red Wings lose tonight.
More so for Detroit. More so for the Red Wings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let me put it like this. Vegas has lost 4 games in a row. Same thing with Detroit.
They still have a 6-point lead in the playoff race. Detroit's down to 2.
That's true. That's true. I will give you a few updates here. Lightning up 5-0 over the Flyers. Capitals up 4-0 over the Blackhawks. Rangers 2-0 over the Blues. And tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Devils and Golden Knights. That'll be a big one here. Mark A says TJ owes us an apology if the Islanders come in third. Yeah, sure I would. I mean,
but the Metro is down this year. Metro's down. Metro's way down this year.
Yeah, and I think even though we're not in a postseason spot now, and we're points out, we have a few games in hand. I think we probably do end up in a postseason spot, right? Nothing but honest to what we think is the truth. Right? We're not stuck saying, oh, this team has no chance of making the postseason. We're playing really hot hockey right now. I like the way we're playing right now. We have games in hand. We've got to take care of the lesser opponents, and let's see how we start playing against some of those better opponents on our schedule. because we have a few games where we play 3 games in 4 nights coming up. I think twice out of our last 20 games, I think it's 2 times we played 3 games in 4 nights.
That's
I
not
mean,
good.
yeah, it's gonna be tough.
For
So
an old
let's
team. Not good for an older team.
Sadie Survival says every time we suck, I still blame Bailey.
Not me.
JP says Tortorella is a fantastic head coach.
He is.
I think
He's
so
a
too.
throwback. He's a throwback.
Ariel Grumpy.
Love you guys, but I've never heard 2 men more depressed that their team is on pace to make the postseason. LOL. Okay, we're not in the postseason right now. We'd be 9th.
Yeah, I like.
We
we're
have to
already
be
in a
points
postseason.
I was talking with Phil this week, and I'm like, I said, out of these next however many games it was, I think 5 games. I said we had to come away with 8 out of 10 points. And that's including beating Buffalo. I said you can lose to the Kings, but you got to beat everybody else. If that doesn't happen, you're not making it, because the schedule's tough for us down the stretch. It is.
Yes, but yeah, we agreed though. I have to have 8 points out of the next 5 games. So,
Well, no, we did win 1, so it's now we got to win 6 out of 8.
6 points out of the next 4 games.
Absolutely.
Dominic R says here, and one more thing about the Ariel's comment. Yes, absolutely. We're not in a playoff spot yet. I think we're trending to where we can be, but just think about how quickly this hot streak started. How quickly can it end? That's how things are. They're fickle in the NHL.
And I don't know what the Flyers' schedule is down the stretch, but I know
they've got a tough schedule. They've got a tough schedule down the stretch.
Well, after that, I know they've had, and I don't know if it's tonight or the last when that 9 of 10 happened against playoff teams, but I don't know if they have an easy schedule at the tail end. I have no idea. But I mean, they're right in the midst of the toughest part of their schedule right now. That could turn around because our tough portion's coming at the end. Can the Flyers make a comeback? I don't know. Are they going to be good enough to even make it a 500 against this particular stretch? I don't know.
Well, they lost 7-0 to Tampa here tonight. Wow.
Tampa Bay got beat by Calgary. They got killed by Calgary last night. That's the thing. I mean, Tampa can show up and be great one day and then look like crap the next day.
They're very up and down.
Yeah.
And that's not usually that for them. But Philly has San Jose on Tuesday. They got Toronto, Boston, Carolina, Boston, Florida, Rangers. Holy shit. Okay.
They can beat Boston. They can beat Boston. Absolutely. They can beat Toronto.
7 of the next 7 games are all against playoff caliber teams.
What about the end of the season schedule?
Montreal, Chicago, Islanders, Buffalo, Blue Jackets, Montreal, Rangers, Devils, and Washington. So you look at the last stretch of games, there's only 2 teams that are currently in the playoffs.
See what I mean? They got it breezy at the end.
Well, technically only 1 team, because only the Rangers are in a playoff spot. Washington isn't. The Devils aren't. Montreal isn't.
The Islanders are playing the Islanders. That's a playoff game for those 2 teams.
Okay.
That could be the game determines who makes it and who doesn't, honestly.
Oh, fuck. Could you imagine that? Oh, gosh. We put this up here? Dominic R. Grumpy.
Islanders season started over with Wah. I still feel a rebuild is needed, but so far enjoying what's happening. Absolutely. You should enjoy it. Here's the thing. They've been playing really well in the last.
I've enjoyed some of the play we've had.
Last 2 weeks, week and a half.
Yep. You got freedom, fun, adventure, Grumpy.
Grumpy is 100% correct. The core group of players has survived many coaches. Some go back to Capuano, Waite, Trotz, and Lane, very respected coaches. Ra's great, but the old core won't give max effort for long.
Yep.
There you go.
Rick Roma, Grump.
The Islanders owners want that playoff revenue, and Lou will deliver it for them. Lifetime contract for the boss, Lou Lamoriello. Well, who knows how long that's even going to be? Even if you give him a lifetime contract, how long is it going to be? A couple of years?
Oh, shit. I will say this real quick about the revenue standpoint. It's as simple as this. If you want to be an owner for long term, I've said this a million times and I'll say it again. You don't only care about revenue in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You also care about what revenue looks like 10, 15, and 20 years from now, because you want to be here for the long haul. So, they're not going to just say, let's just focus on primarily early profits and then just completely ignore profits in year 10, 15, 20, 25. That's just not how that works for business owners. So we'll see. State of survival, Grump.
I also blame Bailey for nuclear proliferation. Oppenheimer was just a cover story. Female James Bond. Bailey is Ian Fleming's grandson, so the lineage is clear. And the metaverse, that failed too. Okay. Page 5 also added the John Hopkins lacrosse title drought. His career started the same year, and God ran out of miracles.
God almighty. Okay. I like it, Stage Survival. D-cut.
Until Carolina wins at ECF game, they aren't a cup contender. Okay.
Put it by Curtis.
It's game 81. We're 2 points out of a playoff spot. We're playing Detroit, and they've been regressing. We're down 2 goals with 8 minutes left in the third. Sorokin's in net. How do you win this game? That's a hypothetical. Next.
Patrick Wall pulls the goalie.
Well, but we're not playing the Detroit. We're playing the Devils, so it's not true. Andrew L says, Grumpy better start thinking about that Twitter username and password.
Oh, you getting ready, Grumpy, to have a Twitter?
No.
It's coming. It's coming. State of
You know
Survival.
what? I'm not worried about anything. Sage Survival says, Vegas is winning again, pulling a fast one again with Stone. Stop. It's not pulling a fast one. I'm cheering for Okposo, though. It's not a fast one.
Islanders, if they made a trade at the deadline, were pulling a fast one with Scott Mayfield because they placed him on LTIR and they gave themselves extra cap space and they could have just brought him back afterwards. I mean, like, it's just a provision, the way the rules are written. Teams use that to their advantage. And guess what?
That's the CBA. If they didn't want it, they wouldn't have put it in there. They wouldn't have signed off on it. It's just, it is what it is. Move on. Gugu says at the deadline, isn't it better that Looney Louie stood pat? Can eating lots of sweets make you fat? The second part is a yes. And the first one, I just don't want to do anything dumb at the draft like he did with Romanoff. Gungun says okay, we read that one. Mr. B says, if the Islanders make the playoffs and go on a deep run, would that mean that Lou knew what he was doing, or were we lucky? Okay. I can't even, we're not even in a playoff spot. And let's say and what do you consider deep? Beating the Rangers and Carolina? That ain't happening. I don't even see him getting out of the first round because they're not good enough. Not a good enough team.
If we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm happy with the result of the season.
Okay.
Right,
okay. So that means you'd have to beat the Rangers and the Hurricanes.
You went 2 rounds of the postseason.
Injuries could be the one thing. Could be the one thing.
Simple as this, right?
Injuries are the reason we didn't get swept last year. Was injuries to Carolina. That's why we didn't get swept.
I'll say this though. Eastern Conference Finals, right? That's where I stand. What's a success for the season? A success is not making the postseason and losing in the first round. If you think that's successful, you and I are just I have higher expectations for my sports teams than you do. It's that simple. I expect my teams to win. Johnny Mac, Grumpy. Johnny Mac.
Grump, we don't have any depth with a very poor in the D zone. We will not finish in a playoff spot. We'll lose too many games at the back end of our schedule. See, that's what we're hot now, and we're playing some really crappy teams. Everybody is fighting for a playoff spot the last 15 games. It's like, except for Montreal, Pittsburgh, I think Washington's in there once. Every one of those games is like a playoff game, and they're going to be trying hard. I mean, I still think it's 50-50 if we even make playoffs. I think we will, because you're seeing Philadelphia kind of stumble. You're seeing Detroit stumble. Tampa Bay is, who knows, one day they're up, one day they're down. It's a very top-heavy conference. I'll just put it to you that way. A lot of teams in the suck zone this year.
Mark A. Grumpy.
TJ, we want to play the Flyers, the Wings, the Lightning. Those are the teams we're chasing. We want those teams.
I don't. I'd rather be playing teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks every night. I feel much more confident going into those games than I would saying, oh, we're playing Tampa. How did it work last time we played Tampa? We got beat 4-2, and it was because we scored 2 goals with our goalie pulled.
Yeah.
We were thoroughly dominated. Think about this. 2 Saturdays ago, Tampa was getting done manhandling us on the ice, absolutely thoroughly dominating us, having a 3-0 victory. They take a penalty. Was it a 6-on-4 goal they scored? They were in the 2 6-on-4 goals. Yeah. That's correct. 2 6-on-4 goals we scored made it 4-2 loss. But I'm like, I don't want to be playing Tampa. Sorry. They dominated us on home ice with rest. D-cut, Grump.
On a back-to-back Okay, so the Kings are on a back-to-back.
And we're also on a back-to-back. So
we
both
beat-
teams are on a back-to-back.
Yeah, so that has no bearing at all.
That's the reason I brought this up, right? We beat St. Louis on a back-to-back. Yes, St. Louis is on a back-to-back. You made excuses for the Blues, yet on a back-to-back is a measuring stick game. Yeah, well, when both teams are on a back-to-back, they both played the night before. They're both going to have the same exact
There's no
energy,
advantage.
perhaps.
And I think the Islanders, when they played the Blues, had 2 days off.
They had
playing.
2 days. Exactly. That's why it's different. The Islanders had 2 days rest. The Blues were playing their third game in 4 nights on the second half of a back-to-back against the Kings. They'll play tomorrow. We'll play tomorrow, and then we're going to play them on Monday both. So both teams will be on the second half of a back-to-back, equal playing field. That's why it's a real measuring stick game for me.
Yeah, D-Cut, get it straight. Goon says, can we all learn a little something from the bravery and quiet confidence that Son X has displayed lately?
God, what has Son X been doing?
I don't know.
Jesus, he hasn't been doing anything. Not Dick Hall. Ugh. Anyway, got a comment here from Joe B. Grumpy.
Oh, I have never seen this name before. That was the nicest thing I've ever heard you say, Grump. I don't even know what I said, but thanks.
Oh man, you must be doing something, Grumpy. You're turning around. Freedom Fund Adventure.
Here's the thing. I call it as I see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing good play right now. I'm seeing a hot team. That makes me that definitely makes me feel excitement. But again, it's only been 5 games. 2 Saturdays ago, we were just getting bent over the boards by Tampa and getting absolutely destroyed. So I will say this, right? Crazy how quick 2 weeks can change things. I will be cautiously optimistic at this point.
You don't want the Flyers, Tampa, and Detroit winning games. If you're an Islander fan, you want those teams losing all the time, because that's the only way we make playoffs. Is we have to have other teams ahead of us lose. And every time we play, because we play Detroit, we play Tampa, we play the Flyers, those are 3 must-win games. Those are 4-point games. You lose those games in regulation, it's like, ugh. Those are bad, not bad losses, but those are tough losses when those are the teams you're battling for playoff spot. Just the truth. Freedom Front Adventure says, Grumpy and TJ, how do you see the Islanders summer going? Ugh. Blue is gone, hopefully. Trades, probably not. Buyouts or status quo. If Lou's still here, same lineup next year. No changes. No changes. They have no money. They have no money if they got 2 UFAs. You subtract Clutterbuck and Martin, who you can fill with anybody else. The Islanders have $5 million in cap space. You can't do anything with that unless you want to move contracts. Do you feel confident the old man's going to move anybody? I don't.
This offseason, the most important thing that this team and organization can do, and this general manager, is by signing Noah Dobson to an 8-year extension. If you don't
how much money should he make, TJ?
I'm saying probably $10 million exactly. $10 million on the. Tell you this much: he's 5th for defenseman in points this season. I don't know. He's young. Was he 24 years old? He's a big defenseman. He skates well, despite people trying to knock off that. He plays good defense as well, defensively sound. Compared to other, let me put it like this. Compared to other offensive defensemen, he plays a very solid defensive game for being an offensive defenseman. That's a guy where it's priority number 1. We got to make sure he's signed long-term. If you don't, I don't know. We're not going to have enough cap space to sign him, or we're going to give him a bridge deal until free agency, and then we're going to be our team's going to be in full-on rebuild, and we're going to be selling him away for pennies. Maybe if Lou's still in charge, we'll give him away for 2 second-round picks. Who does that sound familiar with?
They're not going to give him $10 million a year. I mean, he's not going to make more than Matt Barzal. That's not now. He could get 9, but he won't get 10. He absolutely will not. He will not be the highest paid guy on the team. Just won't be. Not the best player on the team. Matty B is. Sorokin second. I would say he'll try to lowball him. And if I was, I'm like, dude, I'm a point a game player on this team. Second leading scorer on this team. I deserve to get paid. I like, who knows? Maybe
I'll tell you this much. It's $10 million, or say, hey, I guess we're going to arbitration, and I guess I'm leaving one more rights who gave me available. Or maybe I could just wait you out because who knows how long you're going to be there. I don't know, right? Like, he's got 64 points in 62 games this season. He almost has as many points as Matt Barzal. I don't know. He call me crazy. I think he does a whole hell of a lot more than what people give him credit for to drive that offense of this team.
I mean, he's only 2 points behind Matty B.
You don't think that guy deserves, for a defenseman?
He's
who's
not
big?
getting 10 million. He's not getting 10 million. He's going to get like in that $9 million range, like you see all the other young defensemen get.
Do you think we have enough cap space to say, yeah, we're going to commit to $9 million? So great as
In a
we've got
couple of years, in a couple of years, we do. Cap is going up.
That means we're not re-signing back guys like Brock Nelson, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to.
Why would you re-sign back a guy who's 33 years old? The center's on the downside. Why would you do that? He's not even selling.
Lamoriello still in charge. These are the problems and the headaches I'm talking about. These are the problems that are coming up. They're problems for another podcast. We're going to kick him down the road just like the Islanders franchise is doing. Mark A says Pelech has improved. Pelech has improved in just the last 2 weeks. No, it's not that he's improved. The team just in general has been playing better hockey. If like we say, oh, he's regressed. It's not him regressing. It's just the team playing like they have all season. We're just playing really hot hockey right now, I think is what it is. Alex Hinchy, Grumpy.
I think Patty Waugh might have had a say in not trading away draft picks or prospects. I hope so. You don't want to be
happy about that.
The draft is the lifeblood of any sporting organization everywhere. When you give away draft picks, it's unless you're a team that is a true cup contender or a true NFL Super Bowl contender or World Series contender, you don't make, or an NBA champion, you do not trade away your draft picks. They are the lifeblood of every organization. They're cheap and cost controlled, and it brings the next generation along. I mean, sorry. Yeah. I hope you're right, Alex, by the way.
Drew L.
Drew says, I will say Ishikov and Maggio have been on a tear being on the same line. At this point, it's likely not a coincidence. Both of their play styles differently complement each other. Well, do you think either one has a shot of making this team anytime soon with everyone on long-term deals?
Probably not. Not with the.
And here's the thing. If you're seeing something from Ishikov and Maggio, let's say they are developing. What does it mean? You trade next year, you trade Nelson and Palmieri on the last year of their deals. If they're that good and they're good enough to be second line players because they're able to score, you move Nelson, you move Pajot and slide those two guys up there. No problem there. I got no problem if that's the case. I'll be happy with it. Michael Moisa says, I'm just glad we didn't get Duclair.
I'm just upset we didn't get Duclair is what he says.
Oh, okay.
He went for virtually nothing, right?
Yeah.
But Lou didn't want to add to this team.
But where does he – who are you sitting down to play in Anthony Duclair? The team is hitting on all cylinders now. Where does somebody new fit in? I think that was part of it as well. Pierre Engvall's back where he belongs on the third line. Simon Holmstrom, third line. I don't think either one of them has been great, honestly, with Casey center in that line. Second line, Lee is playing harder. Palmieri's been on a burner. Fourth line, you got Clutterbuck and McLean. And Matt Martin's the only guy who's really out of place. You got Fashing sitting on the bench. I mean, where does Duclair play?
Big Al's fan, Grumpy.
I would have moved Palmieri, Nelson, Clutter, and if there were takers, Martin. I agree. You should be trying to compete for a cup, not a wild card spot in a first-round playoff exit. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I understand why they did not. I fully understand why they did not sell it at this particular deadline. Team's playing too well. Gungun says, do you think Lou ever farted during a presser? Was Eddie Murphy the best nutty professor?
Eddie Murphy was definitely the best nutty professor.
He absolutely was not. It was Jerry Lewis.
Who's Jerry Lewis?
Oh, my God. You're a freaking embarrassment.
Pony Boy Curtis.
And next year is a contract season for Nelson. Why wouldn't he have another career year next year? Because he's not that good. It would be kind of dumb to not predict he has another career year next year with contract year. Okay. Has he had a career year this year? Nope. Absolutely not. He's taken a step back this year. You want to know why? Because he's 32. Next year he'll be 33. Players don't get better in their mid-30s. They just don't. Move him. I'd move him in the offseason. I'd absolutely do that.
I'd retain cap on him too.
I'd move him in the offseason. Same thing with Palmieri. Particularly if, Ishikov and Maggio are so great, like everyone's saying now, move those two guys out. Veterans, bring in young guys. I'm all for that. If they can play and they're that good, and I'm totally wrong on them, I'll be happy to admit it and say, you know what? Great job. Those guys should be playing. I'm glad we moved out the vets and gave young guys a job. 100%. All for that. Freedom from Event says, imagine being so secure in your job that you can just toss out word salad and not actual information and get away with it. He also makes declarations. Remember hockey trades last summer? Yeah, he's a dumbass. Like I said, I can't even listen to him. He's just, he's demented. I don't know what you can say.
He's definitely past his peak. Tim Ward, Grumpy.
I agree that it's not a cup team, but it's not unimportant to make the playoffs.
That's true. I just don't like when everybody acts like, let's say it's like the loser's lament. We make the postseason, get bounced in the first round. People are like, well, that was successful. Doesn't matter that we maybe got swept in the first round. Doesn't matter that we only won 4 or we only won 2 games in the first round. That's good. That's a successful year, even though we got bounced out of the playoffs there by Carolina. That's successful. I just hate when it's people just trying to justify making the postseason as a success. It's a requirement. And I think my expectation is for a team that is buying assets and buying pieces, it's a given you should be making the postseason. I'm happy you do it, but it's almost a requirement. Thomas B.
There should be attempts to sell at the draft. The reconfiguring must start then. You would think. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Just don't think it.
TJ or Thomas Rudy Grumpy.
TJ, don't use the dynasty so loosely. The Islanders of Montreal before them were the last 2 dynasties. I'm going to disagree a little bit with that, Thomas. The reason being, in the salary cap era with free agency, I think you win 3 titles. That's like a dynasty. And I think Chicago was a dynasty. I think Pittsburgh was a dynasty. Detroit absolutely was back in the 90s. And honestly, Tampa Bay was would you call Tampa Bay a dynasty? I know they won back-to-back, then they lost the 3rd year.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I mean, like, okay, they were over the last decade. Over that decade, they won how many cups? 3? Like, like when you're making when you're making cup finals after cup finals and you win some, okay, then you take a few years off and you go back to the finals and you're winning cups again. Yeah, absolutely. You're a dynasty. You're a dynasty in my book.
I mean, even the Kings, right?
Kings are a dynasty.
Oh, were. And then
Yeah.
the Kings, I'll tell you what.
The Blackhawks were a dynasty.
Yeah, I think the Blackhawks were for certain. I think they won 3 in 5 years. The Kings won.
I think the definition of dynasties changed because you're never going to see a team ever, and I mean ever, win 4 Stanley Cups in a row. It will never be ever done again with free agency.
And well, it's free agency and the fact that there's more playoff games. It's just so hard. And with the salary cap, I just think that, and the NHL is like, it's like ironclad salary cap. Like the other sports, you can kind of finagle all their salary caps. Not in the NHL. It's totally different. Freedom from the Bench said Lou admitted he was attempting to trade the Islanders' first rounder for help. What a baboon. I swear the other team's GMs not trading with Lou did more to help the Islanders than the old bastard. I can't even listen to him. I can't listen to him.
Meat.
Mr. Meat says, absolutely agree with you, Grump. Lou is an idiot. Actually, Grump is way more intelligent than you give him credit for, TJ. He's right on so many points, and it's high time you gave Grump his credit.
Oh, gosh.
Bring it on, TJ.
Grumpy was right. Grumpy was right about that.
Boy, there's enthusiasm.
Yeah. What want we say, huh? Here you go. We got some memes. I'll put this comment up and we'll get some memes here, Grumpy. Here you go, Grumpy. Matthew D. Bernardo.
What's up, guys? 5 in a row. Love what Rob brings to this bench. Hopefully management gets smart about getting a GM to compliment him in the offseason. Lou must go. Patrick Roy is the next GM. I'm going to tell you right now, he's the next GM.
Okay.
Drew says,
these are
I understand. My reaction to the trade deadline in a nutshell. Let's see it.
I don't know. Is this like
No! Yes!
the move all drafted?
Let's go, dude!
I will say this.
Oh my god!
On surface, I was shocked that we didn't make a trade.
I wasn't. I was not.
For Scott Mayfield's position, we weren't going to add a defenseman. They said Scott Mayfield's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, and they're going to reevaluate if he needs season-ending surgery. That's leaving it up to Bertuzzo. is what Lou said in the interview. Well, we got Bertuzzo that could come back at This team wants to be a contender, and Bertuzzo is going to be on the ice. That's what I mean. Like, I'm shocked we didn't at least add like a defenseman, like a depth defenseman for cheap or something like that, just in case the weird scenario Mayfield needed to have surgery that ended his season. We didn't do that. So we're going to be rolling out Bolduc or Sebastian Aho come the postseason. We think that's going to go good for us? I don't.
The problem for our defense is if you look at the total defense, we're slow. We're a slow defense. That's the biggest problem. Pellick is slow. Mayfield is slow. Mike Riley's useless.
Etc. Pulak's not fast. I don't know. How casuals and Islander fans here, Lou?
As I said, the last time, and I don't know why these are such difficult questions when we are here. And as far as
how I hear, Lou,
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him
oh goodness gracious. That's all the me. Oh shit. All laughing at Lamoriello. Oh, you killed the man, but not the idea. Oh no. Oh, good gracious here. I like it, Drew. Thank you. Oh, there was one other thing that we need to add that was important, I think. Apparently the Islanders made an offer for Savard for the now this confirmed by other people that know, I guess, or that may have some information, said that there was some truth maybe behind this. But they made an offer on Savard to the Habs, but Lou would not part ways with his first round pick or prospect, Ruslan Ishakov. I don't know. That makes me happy if that's the case.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I absolutely do not believe it.
This guy didn't block us. This guy, Incarcerated Bob, has had us blocked for like 3-4 years. So somebody else always has to send us his stuff because I don't get any of his stuff on Twitter.
Well, here's the thing. Just by reading this tweet, he's a fucking imbecile. So we can just move right on. I just don't believe it. Sorry. I'm glad he blocks us. Matter of fact, his comment was so fucking dumb. He's never even given Ishakov a shot of even coming up to play when they needed anything. Never. You're going to try to tell me he's the stumbling block for a deal for a Savard? Stop. Full stop. Just stop.
One more thing here too. Do you remember Will Scouch for the scouting, the guy who helped who went on and talked about prospects 2-3 years ago? Very dead accurate. He used a lot of analytics. Well, now he's got his stuff behind a paywall now. He's big time now, Will. But I'll put it to you like this. He did release his updated prospect projections and his prospect ranking based off of the pools after this year's trade deadline. And I just want to question, Grumpy, where do you think the Islanders rank on this list?
30th.
He had us at 33. He does have the scouting team listed at number 15, dead even there, but he has us listed dead last. Dead last in the league.
So
yeah. 32. Yeah, 32.
Well,
yeah.
we don't. We have nobody. That's my problem. If we had a bunch of guys in the minors ready to come up, I would say keep everybody. Yes, take a run with this, and you fill in with the guys who are getting ready to come up as free agents. But we don't have that. That's the whole reason I'm going crazy over here. Is the whole reason we have nothing in the minors, and we're just an average team at the pro level. I can't help it. Joe B says the right leadership and culture can turn C-level players into B-level and B-level into A-level. Okay.
Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
Lou, we like this group. He acts like this team is coming off the third straight Stanley Cup win. I want Lou fired. I want TJ fired. I want Son X fired. A lot of firing going on.
Oh man. Okay, here we go. Got a few more comments here. Put up a Curtis Grumpy. He says here, TJ, can you see how much of the roster from when we won that playoff series against Florida is still on the team now? Yes, I'll pull it up. I'll do that for us.
I'll bet you 10 guys.
Mr. Meat, Grumpy.
Grump, do you honestly think the Islanders deserve to be in the playoffs? And TJ, same question. If they make the playoffs, they deserve to be in. Absolutely.
I agree with that. You make the playoffs, you absolutely deserve to be in. Now, I think a lot of things are falling our way right now. And that's what has to happen, though. Sometimes things have to go your way.
The problem is, and that's why I want to know what Philadelphia's schedule looked like, because the toughest games we have are after, that Ottawa game to the end of the year. You got Montreal, Pittsburgh, and the Devils. Everybody else, a playoff team that are gonna need to win games. And Philadelphia only has a couple of playoff teams, and I'm including us as one because that is absolutely a playoff game. And everything else is like games they should win, and they will under Tortorella.
Okay. The here is our roster during that 2016 NHL playoff push when we beat the Florida Panthers. It was our first time winning a playoff series. What was it, in 24 years?
Long time.
Since 1993, I believe it was. So let's look at the roster. John Tavares no longer here. My God, 25 years old. Kyle Okposo no longer here. Franz Nielsen no longer here. Alan Klein no longer here. Thomas Hickey up in the broadcasting booth. Brock Nelson, he's here. Ding, ding, ding. There's one. Ryan Pulak, he's here. No Nick Leddy. No Ryan Strome. No Shane Prince. My God. Zidlicki. Holy shit. Calvin DeHaan. Travis Hamonic. Nikolai Kuhlman. Josh Bailey. Matt Martz, he's here. Kyle Clutterbuck, he's here. Casey Zizekas, he's here. Johnny Boychuk and Steve Bernier made a few appearances, and Thomas Grice. Okay, so only 5 guys off the 16 team. Still hard.
5 guys in 8 years.
Hard to believe this.
That's a lot of guys in 8 years for teams never won anything. FYL says, I like his little picture there. It's a little creative.
Grumpy, it's an anime. It's One Punch Man.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Glad we kept our first and second round picks. Do we have a second round pick this year?
No, we didn't. We traded those away. We traded away the second round pick to who was it? To get rid of Josh Bailey, I believe it was.
Is it this year or next year, the second round pick? I think we have a second rounder. We don't have a third rounder, though. Okay. Glad we kept our first and second round picks, hoping a guy like Tig Aginya can fall a few spots for us. Yeah, why not?
Is that Rome Aginla's kid?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's a very unique last name. Okay, it is Jerome McGinley's son. I thought they were messing around when I thought they just were messing around. Okay, hold on a second. I got to look him up now. Man, maybe. Okay, you're Joseph Seagrump.
Okay. Ridiculous how the Golden Knights can keep putting Mark Stone on LTI right around the trade deadline to make his ginormous moves. Why is it ridiculous? I don't understand why.
If you're banged up and you're playing hard hockey and your body's not able to continue to play, well, great. Your team is, because here's the thing. If your team's not good enough and you put Mark Stone on LTIR, well, you don't make the postseason. Well, they did so well early on in the season that they feel confident that they could go ahead and put him on LTIR and they could still make the postseason. And every team has that opportunity if a guy's injured. Every team in the league has that opportunity.
He's legitimately injured, and so is Thomas Hertl. He's going to go on LTIR too. Both of them can come back and if they're healthy, come playoff time.
That's a hell of a team. I'll tell you that. That's a hell of a freaking team for Vegas.
That's a big boost.
I'd say. Freedom Fund Adventure, Grumpy.
My question's for Grumpy. 5 stars. What's his face can also answer. Who are the most important players to delete from the roster this summer? Say 3 guys. Give names and examples of the types of players to add. Excuse me. Go ahead, TJ.
What the fuck are you doing over there making weird noises over there?
Hiccuping, okay? I had a hiccup. Is that a problem for you?
It's a big problem, Grump.
SonX never had a problem.
SonX.
Go ahead, you hammerhead. Tell me who the 3 guys.
3 guys. Brock Nelson, preferably. Jean-Gabriel Pageau, Kyle Palmieri. The reason being is they're all guys that are on the last year of their deal. They're all guys that what are you shaking your head about?
Pageau's got 2 years left.
Okay, 2 years left on his deal. 1 year left for Brock Nelson. 1 year left for Kyle Palmieri. At the deadline, right? Worst comes worst, those guys all have to be moved. Do not re-sign back Brock Nelson. Do not re-sign back Kyle Palmieri, and get rid of Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Players to add.
I don't even know who's available yet. I don't even know who's available.
Teams that struggle will say, hey, this player's available or not available based off of their current situation. Tough to determine that. what I'd like to do is just do a hard reset or pretty damn close to it on the team. That would make me happy. I'd feel like we'd be taking a step in the right direction if we did that.
Would you be willing to bring in Steven Stamkos?
Sure.
You'd have to move some of those other guys out for certain. Maybe if you could somehow get rid of Anders Lee, $7 million per. Pajot.
Could you imagine? Okay, what would the cost of Steven Stamkos be?
I don't think as much as you think. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but tell me he doesn't make us a better team.
He does.
If as a second line center. I mean, he's way better than, even at this stage, he's way better than Brock Nelson is. But I mean,
okay.
You look at guys on the last year of their deals like Nelson and Palmieri, and I just want Anders Lee gone, honestly. But I mean, I'd look for somebody like Stamkos. You're looking at high-end talent. If you move out, let's say you move out Lee, it's like $18 million between those three guys. You can bring in Steven Stamkos. You absolutely could. I'm not saying he would come here, but it's a possibility. Drew says, I don't think TJ was wrong at all about this team. He said they'd be an average to above average team. There's a 50-50 chance of making the playoffs. I think he's pretty spot on. Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
At the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, like things are bad. I'm like, yeah, we're not making a postseason. But yeah, I think I've been kind of somewhat in the middle. Not shocking on that take, but Grumpy was the one who may be criminally wrong come April.
True. I said they were not making the playoffs. Very true.
FYL said Ishikov did a between the legs shootout goal again. Hell yeah.
We could use somebody like that on the shootout. We certainly could.
Would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yep. Free Front Adventure goes, exactly, TJ. TJ's 100% correct. All picks matter. You get a fourth and a fifth and trade them together just to move up to the late second or third. You can use them to move up in the draft, acquire players, restock the system. True.
Yep. Road Gamer.
Empires.
Grumpy Road Gamer says you should do Wednesday shows with X and limit TJ to Saturday to 2 minutes. Frank Grumpy.
If you only do one show per week, should be longer, but seriously, Grump, you should do Wednesday with X-Man. You guys were fine just till the end of the season, man, while we're on a run. It's tough. It's tough for X to do it too.
Yeah. So up to you guys. You guys could do it. I just won't be able to do it.
At this stage, honestly, TJ does the host role, even though he's not much of a host. He's more of an opinionated clown. But he does the host role better than X does at this point in time. He just does.
That's it. Frank G says 13 subs to 1,000. That's right.
We need to get 13 more subs. Absolutely. Needs to happen. I tell you what, if we make a playoff run, we'll get 13 more subs. No doubt.
Frank K.
Dubas shouldn't have a job. He's an awful GM who has accomplished nothing. I think he's between a rock and a hard place in Pittsburgh.
He's the one who went ahead and signed up for that spot. I mean, shit. When he signed up that spot, I said, "What a dumb move by him." I was like, "That is a team that's destined to sink," and he's hitching himself to that sinking ship. It's just stupid.
I disagree. I think he took one more roll of the dice, bringing in Carlson and a couple other guys to try to go one more year at it. We said at the beginning of the year, could they? I
was a Stanley Cup contender.
Okay. Regardless, he took one more kick at the can. And I said I thought that they would make the playoffs. I didn't think they were winning the title, but I thought they would make playoffs. And you know what? He took the kick at the can. It didn't work. His biggest mistake was signing Jari to a 5-year extension. That was a catastrophic blunder. That alone should have cost him his job. I know he was only on the job for a couple of weeks. That should have cost him his job. Because Tristan Jari is the worst goalie I've ever seen in my life when a game is important and they need to win. He's not winning you those games, period. So he took the kick at the can. He realized not good enough, thanks to Jari, of course. And so he's like, well, we're starting our rebuild now, 100%.
How do these numbers look there? It's in a WHL. It's in his draft class year. What are you going to?
He's got to be a defenseman, right?
He's a center.
Oh, my God. No, sorry. No.
What do you mean? No, 58 games, 43 goals, and 33 assists?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Not in the first round.
What? Are you fucking nuts?
No.
What do you mean? You don't even know this kid existed until right now.
That's why I say no. Second round, yes.
Any research? Grumpy, come on. Again, I got to look up when he's projected. He's got to be an early first-round pick or a first-round selection.
His name is Iginla, not Iginia.
I said Iginla, damn it.
No, you said Iginia. That's how you've always said his name. You've always said
13th. Motherfucker, he's projected to go 13th, Grumpy. 13th. I would be happy if Iginla joins. I'd be happy if we were able to snag him and he slipped. Look at that.
Okay.
43 goals in 58 games. Come on.
Can he skate? Can he skate?
I haven't watched any of his damn
There you go.
games.
I want to know.
I know his dad, and he was a pretty damn good hockey player. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Alexander Grump.
TJ Grump, how are you guys? We have been on a roll, and it's ROLL, Alexander. And we are peaking at the right time. I 100% agree with you.
I agree.
On both things, except for
Fire.
the spelling as well.
Jason
Fire Lou Giambi. I wanted Lou to rebuild years ago, but given how old this team is, how in the world did he not add? And he also adds, Lou needs to rebuild, but it's too stubborn. I agree with both things. Joseph C. says Nelson would be worth a ton given what it costs for a second line centers this trade deadline.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's when you move them. You strike while the iron is hot. Mario says the last team inducted into the NHL Hall of Fame dynasties was the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, Chicago. I think Chicago was. What do we have, 3 and 5 years? That's a dynasty. And today, again, it was different back then. Before free agency and before salary cap, it was just different. Freedom Fund Adventure. I just heard from SunX, his video game team was eliminated in round 1. The warden is now taking them to Dave and Buster's, and X said he's really sad tonight. Not true. He's actually watching Charlotte Checkers against the Hershey Bears tonight. He was hoping to see Kuznetsov, but he got traded at the deadline.
Joseph C.
3 Stanley Cup wins in 5 years certainly looks like a dynasty. And talk about Chicago.
JK.
We should have kept last year's pick and traded this year's pick, as last year's pick was generational, and this year's draft is not that good, right? Yes. You want to move. You want to move picks. If you're going to move picks, you should be smart enough to look at the drafts and say, okay, this is a really good draft. This one's not so good. But the other teams know. But lose an imbecile. So that says if the lifeline of every team is the draft, why are the Golden Knights so good every year? Because they stockpile draft picks and then they move them, and they still got guys in their system. They're not ranked 33rd in the league or 32nd in the league when you look at farm systems. They're not.
Okay. They had their first round pick last year. They didn't the year before. They had their first round pick in 2021, first round pick in 2020, first round pick in 2019, didn't in 2018, 3 first round picks in 2017. Yeah. So again, they have draft picks. And he also says, Grumpy, the Islanders would be much better with Stamkos over Nelson. Stamkos 53 points coming in tonight. Brock Nelson 54. Is there any reason we excluded tonight's numbers for Stamkos? Is there any reason for that? Because he's got more points than Brock Nelson.
Stamkos is a better player than Brock Nelson.
A better player right now than Brock Nelson is. Anybody who's saying he's not is fucking lost.
How many games is he played this year?
Oh man,
that's what I want to know. How many games has he played this year?
Anybody who's saying they don't want Steven Stamkos over Brock Nelson for a 1-year run is nuts. 55 points. He's played 62 games, 55 points tonight. Wow, Stamkos. He's got more goals. He's got more points than Brock Nelson. Sorry. I'd rather have Steven Stamkos. Steven Stamkos, first ballot Hall of Famer. He still has enough left in the tank for me.
Yeah, but Brock Nelson's not making Hall of Fame, not even of his hometown.
Not even making the Islanders Hall of Fame. But let's wrap it up. 2 hours and 20 minutes in, Grumpy. What do you want to say before we wrap things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't. From TJ, the grumpy old man. I'm going to throw Son X in there too.
Michael L. says here, TJ and Grumpy, we need to get younger. Also, TJ and Grumpy. Stamkos, who's older and worse, would be an upgrade over Nelson. Foolish. It's not a long-term solution. Nelson should be here long-term, and neither should Steven Stamkos if he's here.
Yeah.
That's correct. Who do you think, if you had Michael and everybody listening, if you had the opportunity to say for this year's Cup run, would you rather have Steven Stamkos or Brock Nelson? Who would you rather have? How many people are saying, I don't want Steven Stamkos for a playoff run. I want Brock. Put my money on Brock Nelson. I hope not. I hope people are saying Steven Stamkos over Brock Nelson. I would at least. Cap dollars excluded. Who would you rather have in an isolated situation? Nelson or Stamkos? Well, Stamkos has won some hardware. He's won some Stanley Cups. He's been extremely successful across the board. I'd rather have Steven Stamkos over Brock Nelson every day of the week for a playoff push.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, and I'm not saying you sign him to and again, he's never signing here.
Yes.
But it's a big chance. Tampa Bay is not going to sign. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to sign back. I don't think they can afford to. So he's going to be available. Somebody's going to sign him. He's not going to sign a 7-year deal somewhere at his age. He's not. 2-3 years. He's a leader. He's captain of the team.
Oh, read this one, Grumpy.
Freedom Front Adventure goes, TJ wanting a guy because his dad was good doesn't make sense. Just look at your family. Grumpy is a legend. Then there's you and X. Oh, wow.
I want a Gidless kid, baby. Sign me up. Haven't even watched a minute of his play, but I'm on board.
There you go.
There it is. But yeah, we're wrapping things up here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be live with you guys next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man Show. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Let's go Islanders. Big games.
Hopefully by next Saturday, the Islanders will be in a playoff spot.
You'll see me a little bit more cheery if the Islanders are in a playoff spot. We've been up in a playoff spot for the majority of the season. Let's hope we could squeak our way in at the last second. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. Thanks so much, Grumpy. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, commenting. We'll see you guys live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. And then next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. Thanks so much, Grumpy. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
My pleasure.